What is up? Gear Squad, Guardians, Rogue Light Bearers, Darkness Wielders, whatever you want to call them. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Destiny podcast project. We're going to have a full name for it at some point. Literally, me and Gil were going over the names. Speaking of which, my name is Chaingear, and of course, I'm with my new loyal co-host, Gilliard, TheHomieGil. How you doing, man?
I'm pretty good, man. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm chilling. Been playing a lot of Destiny, obviously. Probably pretty obvious. That's what I do. That's what we both do. Play a lot of
Yeah.
Destiny. Before we jump into Destiny, before we start the podcast off, start rambling on about Destiny, because there's a lot. There's a lot to talk about. Anything else you've been playing this week?
Um, Not really, honestly. I mean, I've pretty much just been playing Destiny.
Yeah, I mean, Destiny
Like the
takes
only
up
thing to play.
it takes up a lot of time. It takes up a lot of time.
Yeah.
I was up. So I'm really excited. Quick random news, personal news, I guess. Is I moved. That's why it's a mess in the background. And I'm using this, my headset mic, which probably sounds fine. But finally, I got a brand new mic. My other mic, which I usually use, the classic Blue Yeti. It's on its way out, unfortunately. I've been having some audio issues recently, and instead of trying to figure it all out and all this stuff, what I did was I got a Elgato Wave 3, which I'm pretty excited about. So it's been unboxed, but I'm moving my whole setup around. So next time you hear from me, it'll be coming from a beautiful new mic, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, I haven't really been playing anything either outside of Destiny. I literally was supposed to
Mhm.
clean up my whole office and swap it around, but instead I grinded for my Omni Oculus and Battle Harmony, whatever, chess piece for my Warlock. I used to only play as my Titan. Recently, I've been playing as my Warlock, as my Hunter. It's been a lot of
Yep.
fun. I actually just named my Guardians. I know it's super random. I just named my Guardians, all three of them. I'm like obsessing over my personal lore of all of them. I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it. But I haven't really played much else either.
Indeed.
Uh, I'm really trying to think if I did play anything else, but that's pretty much it.
Started
Uh,
playing. I started Final Fantasy VII Remake since it's free for
A
PS4.
a great game, fantastic game. I can't
Yeah.
wait to. I don't know. I'm probably like right at the end of it. Like maybe I have like a third of the game left. Um, and it'll probably be the second game I beat. I have to beat Ghost of Tsushima, and
Yeah.
I actually just recently beat.
You've been saying that for like 3 months.
Yeah, I'll say it for another 3 months. It's okay. I just beat A Way Out.
Mm.
And that is actually an incredible game. If
Mm.
you have
I heard it was pretty good. I never played it.
yeah, if you have a really good friend, a significant other, somebody, I don't know, somebody you want to play video games with, it's not hard. It's
Mhm.
just it's a lot of fun. It's emotional at times. It's a really great co-op game. Like I think co-op games aren't really that common like right now. I think there's MMOs
Mhm.
and like shooters and stuff like that, but like co-op
Right.
specific games just don't
Mhm.
really exist like they used to. And this game is like straight up two player. You can't play it without another person, and it's so fun. I'm really excited to play actually Hazelight's new game, um, which I think it's called It Takes Two, another game that's it's
Yeah, I
co-op, and
saw
I'm
that.
I'm really excited. So
Yeah.
check it out. Okay, that's just we just chilling, we just chatting, but it's time to get
Mm.
into the Destiny news. Before we talk about the TWAB, I wanted to just bring up a couple of things that happening generally in Destiny. And I think we'll probably do this like week by week. We'll play it by ear. We'll see if there's some interesting stuff going around. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is something that I witnessed this weekend or last weekend, which is 12-man Nightfalls plus 4 times loot, which technically was not 4 times loot. It's actually 2 times Nightfall loot and 2 times Platinum Rewards loot. Either way, it ended up with me getting a ridiculous amount of loot. I got a bunch of golf balls
Mm.
and leveled up a bunch of my gear, or masterworked a bunch of my gear. I got a ton of exotic drops, which got me even more pieces, which is great. So I've just been like masterworking things left and right, which is
Yeah.
great because, like I just said, I started playing my Warlock and my Hunter. So I just wanted to pause for a second and just kind of have like an open, quick conversation about, first of all, 12-man activities. We know that the
Yeah.
12-man nightfall or 12-man activities in general is not a real thing. It's a glitch, it's an exploit, and we were blessed by Bungie to say, hey, you guys can use it as much as you want until, of course, we patch it, which is happening next weekend, or I should say at
Mhm.
reset. So I wanted to talk about that, and I also wanted to talk about this. These like double, triple, quadruple, XP or infamy
Yeah.
or loot time. So, Gil, what are your thoughts on both of these things? This four times loot and the 12-man activities.
Yeah. So I saw the like 12-man Nightfall thing, 12-man raid thing, like as soon as it came out, like on YouTube and stuff. And I was like, dude, we got to do that. And then like a week later, we did like a 6, 7-man presage.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was fun. Um, Obviously, presage is not made for like 7 people. um, but it was still very fun nonetheless. So I think it would be really cool if they like like 6-man or even like higher uh, player count activities outside of just raids. I think that'd be pretty cool. Well, outside of raising Crucible, I
yeah,
think that'd be pretty cool. Like a
yeah,
6-man dungeon or strike or whatever.
yeah.
Um, and the 4 times loot, not like actually 4 times, but I wish I got to do it more because I only did like a few with you and who was with us, Garth.
Probably.
Uh, uh, I got like 3 golf balls, like 5 shadow prices, and like 4 exotics. So
Yeah.
among prisms and cores and stuff. So I'd be very okay with that happening again.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think
Yeah.
taking a look at the like 12-man Nightfall thing, I would love to just see like a like 12-man activity somewhere down the line, right? Like
Mhm.
we've seen like activities where they said, hey, you can bring 6 people into this, or
Yeah.
you can bring just a normal fire team for seasonal activities. I'd love to have seen battlegrounds be 6-man. I'd love to see that. I would have
Yeah.
loved to see, I'd like to see in the future a 12-man activity. I'm not
Hmm.
saying that it needs to be match made or whatever,
Right.
but I think we know that the game can literally support 12 people on the
Hmm.
same team doing the same thing. So we know
Hmm.
the game is capable of doing it, even if it's not supposed to. We know it's allowed to happen. So I would like to see it. I thought it was a blast. I don't think this game has enough um, you know, uh, I don't think it has a good enough emphasis on clan or group activities in particular. I do think the majority
Yeah.
of the game should be run for 3-man fire teams. I mean, it's been like that
Right.
forever. I think that's okay. If you have a group of 9 people, you split up into 3 groups. I get it, but like for that activity, we get tired of doing raids. And especially right now, there's only one raid to do, Deepstone Crypt, and so like the rest of the raids, we're not running them yet. We'll probably run them
Yeah.
next season or whenever they add the rotating raid.
Hmm.
We'll probably do more then. But like all we can do is either control or Iron Banner or the raid, and I'd love to see battlegrounds open up for 6 people. Who cares? It's
Right.
battlegrounds. Who cares? Like just open it up and let it happen. I think that would be pretty cool. So that's my thoughts on that. And then for the 4 times loot, dude, I want to see this so much more. I want to see
Yeah.
this in all the playlists, like Nightfalls. You don't think I'm gonna play like to get I don't know 17,000, what are those things called, the void hand cannon for Gambit.
Island Run or bottom dollar. Yeah.
Bottom dollar. Of course I'm gonna
Yeah.
grind for the bottom dollar. If you're
Yeah.
if I get a chance to get 4 times the bottom dollars, of course I'm gonna play Gambit. Of course I'm gonna play
Hmm.
Gambit. Like sure, I like the triple infamy thing. Don't get me wrong. It is especially now because that bar fills up and you can get stuff. But that's not even like it's not a guaranteed bottom dollar, right? It's not a
Right.
what at the end of the day when I tell my friends to play, it's like who wants to grind for loot, right? That's the idea. It's like, hey,
Mhm.
you want to come in and you want to grind for loot? Once we all reach max power, which I'm like, I'm knocking on the door. I'm 1310 on a lot of my items now. So once I'm at like top, at my max light level, I'm running activities to get XP so I can get my other, my artifact light level up. But the
Mhm.
majority of it is I'm just looking for more and more roles to have fun with. So
Yeah.
give me that 3 times loot, 2 times loot, in Gambit. Give it to me in Crucible, and you're gonna see them spike up. Trials?
Mhm.
Are you kidding? Dude,
Oh
double,
God.
triple tokens and trials. People are gonna
Yeah.
be all over trials. They're gonna be. You're just gonna have people sitting there like dying. They don't even really care. But at least the playlist is actually packed. So, big
Mhm.
fan of the 12-man Nightfalls. I know they're gonna get rid of it, but hopefully we can see that as an incentive for next season, season after that, whatever. Witch Queen, whenever it comes out. Yeah, hopefully we just get more loot. Or maybe even a change to the little mini battle pass system that they have right
Mhm.
now for Gambit
Yeah.
and Crucible for us to for triple infamy to matter. I don't care about
Right.
triple infamy because it just isn't. It's just not important. It's not getting me
Yeah.
extra loot, or it's not getting me extra good loot. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my thought on that. Um,
Ooh.
yeah. Next topic I want to talk about real quick before we jump into the swab. I got two other things I want to talk about. Life without trials. Now we are going to talk about trials in a bit. It was mentioned in the swab, but first I wanted to talk about life without trials. And this is actually a good. I think me and Gil are a good, two people to talk about this because Gil plays recently has played some trials, kind of like for the first time, I would say. For me, I like trials. And the our clan, the Obsidian Gears, we have a handful of folks that love trials. And when I say they love it, really it means they kind of hate it, but they play it every day anyway.
Right.
But so we have a good, we have a good representation when it comes to trials. So I'll actually start off with myself. Um,
Mhm.
I actually thought it was kind of nice to not have trials for a week.
Yeah.
Dude, I know some people are gonna be like, "Yo, what do you mean? Like, I live for trials." Shit, looking at mechs,
Yeah.
But look, man, I think like trials wasn't around, and I was like, "All right, well, let me grind out some of these nightfalls then, real quick. Hold up, like, oh,
Yeah.
let me work on this or let me work on that." But I
Yeah.
do understand, like, for PvP players,
Right.
if your one activity that you're excited about per week is gone. Now, I think that says
Mhm.
more about the state of PvP than it
Right.
does trials. I think if
Yeah.
trials is the only activity that people are excited about, nobody's excited about comp. There
No.
are no in-game tournaments. There aren't
Yeah.
any. There's no tournament period for
Right.
Destiny. There's no there's no spectator mode or anything like that. People run tournaments externally, but there's no
Mhm.
Bungie run tournaments. There's no spectator mode. So the
Right.
only thing you can really do is that for an advanced PvP player is trials or comp, and people there's no reason to play comp. And because there's literally nothing to obtain from comp, and then so
Yeah.
trials is the only thing. So people want to grind trials, but they can't. So I do get that. But I have to say, a weekend without trials allowed me to, for someone who's a very well-rounded player, I love to just jump in and grind that quadruple loot. So what did you think, Gil?
Um, I'm on the same board as you. I was like, I don't really much care if the trials was gone. I'm not a huge PvP guy myself, as most of the clan knows. Uh, I mean, I can successfully say that over this past season, I've gotten a lot better at it. Um, I've been playing it more. Like I told you and Darth last night. Like yesterday afternoon, I was playing a game and my teammates had no idea what they were doing, and the other team wasn't good either. I dropped 32 kills, and
Hey,
that was my first 30 bomb ever in Crucible. D1, D2, first one ever. Um,
that's my boy
so
right
like
there.
I I can see my progress. I'm getting a lot better at sniping, even though it's not like meta right now. But I like doing it. I've always liked sniping in first-person shooters, so
Hey,
I
sniping's always good. Ask Cammy Cakes.
yeah.
Sniping is always good. You can kill people at any range instantly.
Hmm.
Sniping. Even if Darth says sniping is dead, the truth of the
Yeah,
matter is, like, sniping is still one of the best ways to
yeah.
get a kill at any range. So it's just
Mhm.
shotguns right now, and being able to have distance with a 120 happens to be a little bit
Right.
better. But I mean, hey, sniper sidearm still is around. Sniper hand cannon still is around. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I've seen you gotten a lot better. We were playing comp.
Yeah.
Shout out to Hansel. We were playing with Hansel the other day, and I mean, it was fun. Like, we legitimately were just having fun playing comp. And I
Yeah.
do think I actually comp has kind of grown on me because now that I know it's within my skill range the whole time, and
Hmm.
that it really behooves you to play around your skill level. I still don't like
Yeah.
the way that it's represented. I wish it was more like Overwatch, where
Right.
hey, am I a platinum player? Is Gil a gold player? And so we play together and we grow together. But Darth's
Hmm.
a master level player, so I might not be
Yeah.
able to play with him,
I,
but I can play elimination with him. I can play not a comp game mode, and
hmm.
learn from him. But he's gonna want to play with people around his skill level, and that's fair. Because I think a lot
Right.
of people will say, "Hey, I want to play some comp." They don't know that their skill level is lower than someone else's, and then they're getting
Right.
bodied all day long, and they're like, "I'm just garbage at Crucible." It's like, no, you're playing against people who are top 5%.
Yeah.
Like, you're bottom 5%. You're trying to play against people who are top 5%. Like, that's not your wheelhouse. You
Right.
know what I mean? But like, if
Hmm.
I'm top 50%, you're top 60%. That's okay. We've got some space in there, right,
Hmm.
to like play around. So, I think everyone would benefit from a better comp system, but I
Yeah.
digress. I digress. That's life without trials. I'd love to know what other people think about life without trials for sure. So whether you guys are watching this after the podcast is airing, or if you're watching it right now, if you're watching this clip, whatever it is, let me know. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit Gil up on Twitter. Of course, the information is where it's at. But like, listen, like, I want to know, like, how did people feel about playing, Destiny without trials, especially PvP players? Like, for me and
Hmm.
Gil, we're very well-rounded players. Gil definitely leans heavier toward PVE. So do I, but I do love Crucible, and both of us are loving it more and more the more we play it. As per recently, you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But all right, last thing I want to talk about before we finally jump into the swab, I don't want to take forever, is the story and the lore. Because listen,
Hmm.
me and Gil out here, we're aspiring lore masters, and bro, the story this season has really been great. Week over week, I'm excited to jump in on a Tuesday just to see what
Yep.
NPCs have to say. Um, and I have to say, this week was was probably the most fire. This week was probably the most fire. Let's start off with the Crow Zavala cutscene. So if you didn't see this, I'm not going to show it, but we are going to talk about it. So we're going to talk about it. You can actually see here up in the TWAB, the top of it. This is from the cutscene. So actually, Gil and I mentioned this. Both of us would love to see some incredible in-game cutscene, all animated. I was actually just playing Forsaken the other day, and I forgot
Hmm.
that they had Cade up in there, like, doing
Yeah.
all this crazy stuff. But we got a cutscene that was like sketched out. And
Hmm.
even that I thought was really, really cool. And so
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of stop for a second and Gil, what did you think about the cutscene? And again, spoilers. What did you think about the cutscene, man?
Well, the cutscene was leaked a little while ago,
That's
so
fair. That's
that's
fair.
that.
But a lot of people
Uh,
stay away from
yeah.
spoilers. You know what I
Some
mean?
people, people stay away from it. Um, all in all, I think it was pretty good. Like back when I first saw it, I was like, "Huh, what just happened?" And now that we had Challengers Proving 4 last week, we got more context to this cutscene, um, with Crow and with the Scion assassin, uh, which is not anyone important. It's literally just a random Scion. Um, but if if you've watched Bungie's shenanigans on Twitter, um, apparently, and if you watch Vive's most recent video, apparently it might not even be Keitel who issued the hit. So if we're getting an entirely new character coming out, because Kaido so far is like super honorable. Um, like apparently when Kaido said on Twitter, um, she was like, if I'm gonna kill Zavala, I'm gonna kill him face to face because he
Right.
deserves like a warrior's kind of death. And she's like super respectful to Guardians. Like, you guys are legends. You've killed gods. You deserve respect, not rags and riches, right? Um, and I'm interested to see where this goes. If Since Kaido apparently isn't the one who issued the hit, I'm interested to see who they bring in, whether or not if Callus is actually dead or if it's one of the conspirators behind the Midnight Coup, or what was the person Life talked about, Aztec or something.
Yeah. The idea is that I'm gonna see if I can actually find the tweet. I think it's this one right here. Basically, Keitel says, so okay, just complete clarification. This is Destiny's official Twitter account. And they changed the name to Keitel, Empress of the Cabal. And basically, with that, they've been tweeting things as Keitel comparatively to as Destiny the game. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so basically, Keitel tweeted out, when my father, Callus, sought guardians to become his shadows, he extolled them with riches and titles. I will drip no such honey in your ears. You need respect, not praise. Guardians are legends. Guardians have killed gods. Let me pause there for a second. So, if you didn't know, Keidel's daddy is Callus. And also, if you didn't know, a shadow is basically a representative of an entire group of people for Callus. So Callus had shadows of pretty much every um, nation, planet, group, general group that were
Mm-hmm.
representing their group, and usually they were elite warriors. So if they went to, a planet that was full of Martians, they would get the head Martian or the best Martian to be a shadow for Callus. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the idea. And so if you didn't know, Callus wanted us to be the Guardian, to be the shadow, a shadow at least, for Callus. And what she's saying here is basically like, yo, he did his thing where he's like, gold, riches, wine,
Yeah.
opulency, grow fat with strength. And she's like, you don't need none of that. You need
Mm-hmm.
respect because like you're a badass. She's like, I'm not stupid, all right? Like you're a badass. And so basically, this guy right here, crazy writer guy, says,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and you thought a single assassin could take out Zavala. Cute lady. You're about to have many god killers gunning for you. Sort out your affairs, which obviously a lot of people liked. And then Kaido responds and says, if I wanted to kill Zavala, I would look him in his eyes when I did it. A warrior deserves no less. And so that is interesting. You know what I mean? Like that's interesting. That's the first time that we've seen Keitel talk about this, right? Like Keitel responds and basically is like, "Hey, look, like it wasn't me." This is her basically
Mm-hmm.
saying it wasn't me. So that whole cutscene where we saw an assassin go after Zavala, we don't really know what's up with that. Also, it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting if you to just kind of expound on that is when you go to the helm and you listen to what Lord Saladin has to say. Lord Saladin is kind of like, "Yo, listen, like
Yeah.
they like we're gonna destroy these fools. Like they brought an enemy in this city. Like we're gonna wipe them off the face of the earth."
Mm-hmm.
And he was really upset. He was like, "Look, like we're gonna start losing people, and like I'm not letting that happen again." There's a lot of emotion that happens in
Mm-hmm.
this. Speaking of which, moving on from the hallucination that Zavala saw, and talking about basically when we were in the helm and we saw how Osiris dealt with basically Crow being seen.
my.
there's so much emotion there. Let's start,
Yeah.
Gil. Gil, what did you think when you walk into the helm? You hear how these two are having this discussion. What did you think?
Mhm. Well, clearly, Osiris was not happy with what happened. Where Zavala wrote it off as a hallucination. So did Ikora. But obviously, Osiris knows that that was definitely not a hallucination. That was actually Aldrin. And Aldrin's like, dude, if I didn't show up, Zavala might have gone lightless. Like if I wasn't there to warn him. And Osiris was like, dude, one lone scion is like the least of our worries. Zavala can handle it himself. Uh, and then Osiris like starts talking about like regrets or something, and Crow's like, Crow's like, I'm sure you learned that chasing Zero Wrath. And I was like, oh my god, he did not just say that. And
To be
then
clear,
Osiris,
yeah,
yeah,
when dude, that was wild. Basically,
yeah,
he goes, Crow is like, I think I actually just rewatched it earlier today. Um, he says, Osiris says, didn't Spider teach you about
mm-hmm,
like making
yeah,
mistakes, right? A small mistake
right,
could be devastating. And
right,
then um, Crow claps back and says, "Yeah,
mm,
well, I bet you learned about making these small mistakes that become devastating when you were chasing after Zivu Araf." And just to be clear, I just did a lot of research on this. Um,
mm,
Osiris, you have to remember, Osiris just recently, last season, went
yeah,
after Zivu Arath, or at least the High Celebrant of Zivu Arath,
yeah,
and doing that, which, by the way, no one knows this really. Osiris went on a warpath. Osiris is a
mm-hmm,
badass. Like, Osiris went out, he killed. I don't know if you know this either, Gil, but he went out and he killed. I want to say one. He killed one of Crota's daughters, which we killed in a strike team. So
yeah,
Hash Ladoon, me, Gil, and Darth, we had to run out there and go kill Hash Ladoon. He
right,
did it by himself. He said,
yeah,
"Hold up." He took out the sword and he
yeah,
daybreaked one of Crota's daughters. He
mm-hmm,
killed another one of Crota's nephews. So one of the daughter's sons.
yeah,
And he was just generally messing people up. Uh,
mm-hmm,
and so he was on a warpath. Now, it didn't
mm-hmm,
work to the very end, and if people didn't know, unfortunately, Sagira, Osiris's ghost, got killed.
yeah,
So it's a little crazy because basically what's happening here is that, and Crow knows because Crow saved Osiris's life. And so
mm-hmm,
Crow is sitting here being like, well, guess what, Dad?
yeah,
You screwed up too. So, and Osiris goes, choose your next words wisely.
yeah.
Because Osiris ain't playing around.
Like
Um,
Osiris didn't have a ghost, but he's still that dude. Like
right.
he'll, he'll mess you up.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I thought it was really interesting. I think things seem to be getting much more emotional, and I personally love that. I think literally that whole Tuesday was an emotional day. I think for
Mhm.
Guardians, we came in and we didn't see a crazy cutscene. We basically got like spoken poetry from Zavala about how
Yeah,
he's can't sleep at night and how he's struggling with what's going on and how he usually deals with his stress but how his nightmares are coming to haunt him. Like, that was deep, bro.
right,
I was like
right,
not only generally are you terrified because you just saw the man who killed your one of your friends in the bushes, you also almost got
right.
assassinated and now you ain't sleeping. Like, it's like that in itself was deep, and then to see everybody's reaction, to see Saladin's reaction was 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 intense. Saladin's
Mhm.
lost everyone. Saladin's the
Right.
only Iron Lord left. He knows what it's like to make a small mistake and have everybody get wiped out. So he's not happy. And seeing
Right.
his reaction to that was deep. And then seeing how Osiris is almost like he's taking care of a child. You know, Osiris
Right.
is like, you don't know. Like, I've been a guardian forever. You've been a guardian for 2. You're essentially 2 days old. Like, you don't
Right.
know. And I've been an outcast. I know what it's like. I've seen Zavala kick out the Sunbreakers. I saw it. I've seen all this happen. You can't make these mistakes. And he's like, well, you made mistakes. And he's like, I will pop one in you real fast. Like it was so cool to see all of that emotion.
Yeah.
And I have not
Like,
seen
yeah,
Destiny do that in a long time.
yeah. You got to think about it like from Saladin's perspective. Like, like you said, he lost everyone.
Yeah.
Like, the only like living Iron Lord is like us and Ephrodite.
Right.
And Zavala and Shax studied under him. So like Zavala and Shax are like his children, basically.
Yep.
So, like if he lost Zavala, dude, he would go like, excuse my language, he'd go batshit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
start killing everyone.
Yeah.
Like,
It was it was good. I really enjoyed that. That's not the end, of course. And just to address the chat real quick. What's up, Mex? Thanks for coming through. We actually did talk about trials, and I'm going to ask you here real quick. How was a week without trials? In the beginning of the podcast, me and Gil talked about how we felt about a trialless weekend. And so I was wondering how you felt about it. And obviously, we know trials is coming back. So how did you feel about trials being away? How do you feel about it coming back now? But going back to the story, basically what we were the last thing that we kind of saw was that he, like, Crow basically goes away, right? Crow goes away, and he's like, all right, whatever, Dad. Goes down to his little, like, hidey hole like he usually does. And then he basically was like, I get it. I understand, like, everybody's upset, but they don't know what I've been through. Like, people hate me, and I haven't even done anything, and I had to realize that that I'm not the person that I was, and that I will do, like, I will make sacrifices if I have to.
right.
And one of the things that I thought was really interesting was I almost felt like they were making a parallel to COVID. Literally, he was like, my mask was off for a second. I thought I was safe, and I was like,
Yeah.
but basically, he was like, he doubled down. Crow doubled down. We have some strong personalities. You have Zavala. You've got, who's like, who's probably actually the most calm right now. You have Saladin,
Right.
who's ready to go on a warpath. You have Osiris, who has been quite calm until, like, his child basically is in trouble.
Right.
And then Crow, all of a sudden, he's also a very strong personality after doing the why can't I think of what the mission's called? The exotic quest for the hand cannon. Hawkmoon. I just did it recently, and the way he talks about his transformation from whatever he was to that person being dead, and him
Yeah.
being a guardian, an instrument of the traveler's will, which is deep. So it's like,
Yeah.
seeing all of that kind of come to a hold. I'm very excited to see how it keeps going. Like, I am so excited for next week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I find it like super cool, like how Osiris is like lightless. He does not have powers anymore, but he's still like leading everything. Um, he's like Zavala's second in command right now,
Right.
and he can't even use any powers. I like how he's the one that's like, because he knows if Aldrin actually like got caught, he knows how Zavala and Ikora would react, and how all of the Guardians who don't know about Crow would react.
Right.
And I've been wondering, like, does Saladin know who Crow is. I don't think so. Um, I think it's just like us and Osiris that know, and Spider, I guess.
Right.
But I think I wouldn't be surprised if like we got a cutscene where like Spider kind of like spilled the beans to Zavala or something. I think that'd be really cool. Like a what's the word? Cliffhanger kind of
Right.
cutscene.
Yeah.
Like, my little morsel was Prince of the Reef once. And so I was like, what did you say?
Especially because right now, we know that Crow is about to be Zavala's bodyguard.
Right. It's gonna be with him all the time.
Right, which is wild. So I actually did want to talk about the Glycon before we finally jump into the TWAB, but the Glycon actually was not any different this week. So instead of talking about the Glycon, I actually wanted to continue talking about things we don't know that that have kind of come up over the last couple seasons. And anybody in the chat, let me know if you guys are thinking about anything, or anybody in the comments. Is there anything in Destiny that we have had recently that has been like unanswered? Particularly recently, right? So two things that popped in my mind when you started. First thing, you mentioned Lord Saladin. Is Lord Saladin like gonna be okay when he realizes that the Warmind is like involved in like literally? You had Zavala be like, hey, you know. I don't know what he calls them, but like, you know, the council of basically the tower. You know, he goes, he's talking to everybody at the tower, and he's like, "Hey guys, yeah, I'm about to bring the Warmind over here. He's about to help us out." Like, did Saladin not have like a panic attack and want to kill everyone? Literally, all his friends are dead,
right?
Because of Rasputin. Like, let's be super clear about that for a second.
Yeah.
All of Saladin's friends are dead because of Rasputin. Rasputin was like, Siva, do what you do. I'll see y'all later. And, like, disappears, and Siva kills everyone and, like, takes over their body and turns them into zombies. Like, what? Like, is he not going to go apeshit when he realizes that? That's number one. And then the other thing, yes, Mex called it out perfectly on time, is the Stranger's Fish thing. Do people not remember this? Let me... do I need to bring this up? In the Beyond Light trailer... Actually, no, it was the Beyond Light cinematic, I think. I can't remember. But one of those things...
Yeah.
The Stranger, Exo Stranger, comes out of nowhere with this fish! With this, like, fish. And they told us it's not a ghost. They said it. They said, this is not a ghost shell. So what is it? Like, what is going on? Like, there are some things that are open right now that I don't know what is going on. And I am so excited. And the way that they've been doing storytelling as of right now has been really excellent. Good. And I do have to say, like, if they continue this season by season, they already know what it looks like at the end. To the point where they had to add a whole nother year expansion, correct? They had to add a whole nother year expansion because they know they're not going to get there. So I mean, I'm interested in seeing what storylines click and which don't. And one thing one of the things I just mentioned was Shadowkeep. We finally have seen. So I won't go too far in depth. Maybe we'll talk about this another time. But basically, I just completed Shadowkeep again on my Warlock, and one of the things I'm realizing, I did a bunch of research about the Swarm, which is the Scarlet Keep's own faction of Hive, and I'm like, who are these people? Like, what's going on? Like, this is basically Crota's lineage, which is basically Oryx's lineage, and there's one person left in Crota's lineage. He has one daughter left. I believe her name is Keenox. I could be wrong about that. But I'm like learning all this stuff, and I'm like, wait, hold up. What's that mean? And Keenox just met with the High Celebrant, Xivu Arath's High Celebrant. I'm hoping Xivu Arath takes over the moon, and the moon becomes relevant again. Like, there's so many cool things that they could do, and I have no idea where it's going. Is there anything, Gil, that you know has popped up, or Darth? I know you're in the chat now. Mex, you and I are on the same page with the Stranger's Fish thing. Is there anything that you've been thinking about where you're just like, where is this going? By the way.
Yeah. Um, I'm interested to see if they answer anything about uh, anything related to Siva,
Yeah.
um, because we know, like in the Zero-Hour mission, it was Aramis's crew that was like trying to take Outbreak Perfected and steal it to gain the same thing that Axis and all those other
Right.
guys
Right.
got from it. Um, and they said, like in the lore tabs in Destiny 1, like after we killed Axis, they just sealed it away again. Um, I'm like, there's no way that it's not just as easily accessible as it was before. I wouldn't be too surprised if it wasn't like active, considering the replication chamber is blown up and Axis is dead. Um, but I liked Siva as like a story element. Um, so I would hope they like address it in maybe like a side quest or something. Uh, and I want to see Aphrodite come back. I thought she was really cool.
Yeah.
Um, being like the Iron Banner person in Destiny 1. And Shin Malphur. I really want to see Shin Malphur. If there's one person in the lore that I want
Yeah.
to see in game, it is Shin Malphur all the way. He's like coolest like character. He's like undercover in the shadows of Yor to get information for Zavala and Ikora. Uh, or he was at least. I don't know if he is anymore. Um, but the same goes for the Drifter. Um, I think Drifter's dredger name is like what? Dredger Hope, I think
Right.
is
His
the
like his
Drifter's
like
name.
actual name or whatever. Yeah.
Jermaine.
Yeah.
And then I think Shin Malphur is like Dredger Vale or something. But dude, well, they talk about the man with the golden gun so much, and then there was literally like a mission where they were like, Shin Malphur's been spotted in the EDZ. I'm like, what? You can't, you're not just gonna go along and pretend like you didn't just say what you just said.
Right.
And but yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think that's a good point. Shin Malphur, like generally, I think is a good one, especially because we've just learned recently like so much about him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not super recently, but like there was a lot.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot that we did learn.
Mm-hmm.
And he's playing such a large role. Like Gambit
Mm-hmm.
isn't really the Drifters. Gambit is
Right.
really Shin Malphur's. Like,
Right.
Shin's like, yeah, keep playing Gambit. I will annihilate you if you make the wrong choice.
Right.
Also,
Right.
and he knew about the darkness,
Mm-hmm.
right? He knew
Mm-hmm.
that we needed guardians that could wield both. So he's out there
Mm-hmm.
killing guardians right now. Like he's out there
Yeah.
like just murdering fools who are like getting too close to the darkness. So I
Mm-hmm.
definitely want more of that. Darth says we need more Mara. Definitely excited about
Yes.
that. We know that that's coming.
Yeah.
Literally, the beginning of maybe season of the hunt. She said she's like, I'm coming back, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna finish what we started. Talking to
Mm-hmm.
Petra. So I agree with that. Another this is the last thing that I'll put out there is that
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to maybe hear some more. I wouldn't be mad if we never got it, but more about some of the more intricate details of the tower. Um, I wouldn't be too surprised if we didn't see any of this until like quite a while.
Yeah.
But there's the praxis order, for example. When we were talking about the drifter, we learned a lot about all that, right? And it's
Right.
like, well, where did that go, right? The factions constantly play this like little side role, and like I don't need faction rallies or whatever to come back. Like honestly, I was okay when that went away.
Right.
But like I'd like to like get a little bit more information about that. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying they have to become a vendor. I'm not saying that, but imagine like you go to the moon and Iraq Jalal shows up and he's just like, Guardian, we need the moon. Like he's
Yeah.
like we like I would just love to like see these people or like
I
Lankshmi.
have a I have a question that just like came to mind.
Yeah, yeah,
Do you remember? This is like a stupid question. Do you remember in D1 the vanilla story
yeah.
Osiris's old voice?
I don't.
Because like it was like when we first went to the moon. Um, and he was like, "The shrines of Oryx must be destroyed."
No, I don't remember that. I'll have to look it up.
Imagine.
Oh
Yeah.
God. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's so much that we could get. So I'm pretty excited, and I like the storytelling at this point in time. All right, we've done enough lollygagging, and it's
Yeah.
time to actually jump in to the TWAB this week at Bungie. Of course, it is the 11th of March, already getting close to that halfway point. It is insane how time is flying by. As per usual, we're not going to read through the whole thing. We're going to give you guys a summary of the majority of this, and then of course we'll talk
Hmm.
about it in the chat. We'll talk about it. So obviously with you guys, and me and Gil will kind of give you our opinion on a lot of this stuff. Um,
Yeah.
the first part, very, very simple. This is just basically Bungie explaining Grandmasters to new folks, which partially makes me think that maybe they've recently been getting a lot of new traffic to the
Mhm.
TWAB, or maybe even realizing that a lot of new players are interacting with content creators or something, because
Yeah.
they've been doing this a lot where they explain concepts that we've seen before. I think the majority of people
Yeah.
knew Grandmaster Nightfalls were. I don't think a lot of people were doing them, but I think they've existed. But as you can see, starting on March 16th, which is next.
I'm gonna cut my game for a
Oh
second. I'll
yeah,
be right
yeah,
back.
that's fine. That's fine. For people that didn't know, March 16th coming up, Grandmaster Nightfalls are going to be back. I'll give you the quick synopsis on this one. The strike difficulty is set to 1350. To be super clear, this is the highest level of anything in the game. So if you haven't already maxed out, or you're trying to max out this, you want to get to a power level that'll let you do things at 1350, right? And that level will be 1325.
Yep.
1325. And if you didn't know, contest mode is going to be on. Now, this is what makes me happy. I really like contest mode. I think it's the hardest thing that we've seen, I would say, is the raid
Hmm.
in contest mode, which is basically like week one. Or day one? Day one or week one? I don't I don't remember. I think it's day one. I think it's day
Day
one.
one.
Yeah,
Day
day
one.
one is the
Day
only
one.
time that contest mode is available for the raid. But in this scenario, for Grandmasters, it's going to be open the entire weekend. And so basically, you want to get to 1325 by the 16th. So do anything that you
Yeah.
can to get to 1325 on whatever character you really want to play with. So there's that. Each strike will have a specific set of modifiers to ramp up the difficulty. So make sure you inspect each one to know what champions you'll face and what other challenges await you. One Grandmaster Nightfall will be available each week until April 20th. Starting April 20th, you'll have the opportunity to blaze through all available Grandmaster Nightfalls through a direct launch playlist. I love the addition of this, by the way. If you
Hmm.
didn't get to it, or you weren't high enough light level, or it was just a struggle at the time, you have weeks upon weeks to perfect your builds and get better.
Did they
And
do it last season?
they did do it last season. They did.
Okay.
I remember, because I was like, oh, you can do any of these Nightfalls now, and then I didn't do it anyway because Grandmasters were pointless.
Yeah.
But now it's a little bit different. So yeah, if you didn't know as well, there are the three not Crucible, Vanguard weapons. So there's Shadow Price, Palindrome, and the Swarm. I actually did not play at all when the Swarm came out.
Neither did
So
I.
I'm excited to play to get the Swarm. But obviously, you can get these in any Nightfall. But the reason that you want to do it for Grandmaster is because you can get an Adept version of these. I don't know if it's worth it. Let me just put this out there now. I do
Yeah.
not know if it's worth it for the Adept weapon.
Hmm.
We've seen already that Adept weapons really aren't worth all the grind to get in Trials. If you want to go
Hmm.
flawless in Trials, then you go flawless in Trials anyway before Adept weapons. And the addition of Adept weapons, I don't think people really are like, oh, I really got to go flawless to get Adept weapons. Like, it doesn't seem to really have made that much of a difference.
Hmm.
And in this scenario, my assumption is it's the same thing. Unfortunately, adept weapons just don't have that interesting of a change. A lot of people are really hoping that Bottomless Grief and Celerity become intrinsic perks to adept weapons. I would be okay with that. They're so niche anyway. So I think then it might be worth it. The color change is cool, but again, it's not the most interesting thing. I almost feel like that could have just been an ornament that you can only get if you do this. So anyway, it's here if you guys are interested in doing it. I know I'm going to be trying it. Another thing, obviously, is getting the title of Conqueror. And if you had it already, then you can get it gilded. So that's that. Let me know what you guys are thinking about in the comment section. I know for me or in the chat. For me, I'm going to go for these because I like the challenge. But at the end of the day, if all I get is a golf ball and an adept weapon, like it's not really
Yeah.
going to be that interesting. I'm doing it because I just like the challenge. So I'd love to know what
Right.
you guys think. Gil, what are you thinking when it comes to doing these nightfalls?
I never did uh, GM. Like the first master I did was with you guys like last week or a few days ago.
Hmm.
So I'm pretty excited for these. I'm not quite at 1310 yet. I'm like getting close. I'm starting to get like 1308 stuff. So hopefully like this week I'll be around like 1308, 1309, and maybe next week I'll be pushing 1310 um, on my hunter. And maybe I can actually get an adept palindrome. I don't know. Uh, but that's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping to see. My assumption is that it'll be swarm. So I
Yeah.
think we'll be maybe, but my assumption is that we'll be getting a depth swarm. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see how that all works out. Darth saying
Mhm.
GM is going to be too crazy. I agree. I mean, Master was already hard enough.
Yeah.
But
Devil's Lair. My
yeah,
God.
yeah. But I'm excited though. I think Master.
Yeah.
Once you do Master, running it back, over and over again really isn't that hard. But I think Grandmaster, it doesn't matter. Every time you do it, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
I think no matter
You can
what.
start. You can start like getting into a rhythm
Yeah,
on like master, but on GM, like you gotta be
on every single
on it.
time.
Like
Yeah, yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited for sure. Moving along, it's time to talk about some patch notes. I know Darth is excited for one of the small things they just randomly put in here. But let's start from the beginning. As you can see, strikes are getting fixes. Nothing really too exciting here. If you guys have had an issue with some of these strikes, then just look here and you'll see if there has been a change. One of the things that I didn't even realize is that Sepix Prime now has a boss health bar. Apparently, Sepix did not have a boss health bar. Which, thinking back, I think maybe I realized that. I think I remember Thunder crashing it and being like, "Oh, I didn't realize it had
yeah,
like no health or something like that." So I guess this is kind of interesting, but yeah, read through these if you're interested in seeing the Fallen Saber or Devil's Lair changes. Yeah, but another interesting thing is that armor has been changed. I am going to go over these because this is kind of a big deal here. And let me
hmm
actually go here so you guys can see it. Linear actuators for Dune Marchers is finally working again, or will be working again, so that's exciting because that was definitely an issue where I mean you could still use Dune Marchers for the slide, but it was acting kind of weird. So if you're a huge Dune Marchers fan, which I know a lot of Titans are, these are back. There's a couple other changes in here that aren't really as big of a deal, but I will say that Omni Oculus will no longer grant melee energy if you're only using the invisibility on yourself. Which I think is completely fair. It's supposed to be a
yeah,
team-based exotic. Also, I just got mine. I didn't realize that if you smoke two people, actually, I think it's three people, including yourself, you get
you get it right back.
you get it right back. So, yeah, this is fire. I'd be surprised if they don't nerf it. But we'll wait and see. This is going to be so good in the GM, especially because you can make the whole team invisible and you still have tether, which is always great. So
Mhm.
yeah, this is going to be really exciting. But this is what I really wanted to go over. Uh, they fixed a couple things, with some flavor text. They added Rumble to Dead Man's Tale. They
Can I do this one?
huh?
Can I do this one?
Oh yeah, go for it. Go for it.
It's like James was saying, they added some flavor text. They added a little rumble at the end of Dead Man's Tale. That's weird. I don't know what that means. um, adjusted wrist runners part VFX that were causing epileptic issues.
That's good.
That's
That's a good change.
that's good. That's a good change. Also, reduced arbalest aim assist in the Crucible, making it harder to hit headshots.
Darth, I know this is your jam. This is your sauce right here. Dude, this is so funny. They just randomly put this out here. They were like, yeah, and we reduced the aim assist just really quickly. Yeah, that's all. Like, they stealth nerfed this, basically. Like, this is such a huge deal. I think one of the reasons that they didn't put this out here as a big deal is because Arbalist, I think aim assist isn't a thing that everybody understands in Destiny. It's not. It's a hidden stat. You have to go to a third-party site to look at it. I don't think the average player thinks about aim assist. I think they just think they're good and they're getting headshots, which I think is the point, right? You don't want a player to be like, I didn't deserve that. They want to feel good, right? So I think that makes sense. But yeah, I'm interested in watching Fallout's videos or Cammy's videos or whoever's videos, probably Cool Guy's videos on Arbalest's aim assist and seeing where it's going to go from here. If you guys were wondering the aim assist value for Arbalest, we can actually check it really quickly and see where it's going to go. That way, at least for the next week, we can kind of talk about, well, what does it look like? What are the changes here? So here's Arbalest, and let me just pull it up. This is Light GG. Shout out to Light GG. Um, and if we scroll down here, oh nope, I need to scroll down. So these are the weapon stats that we usually see, right? But a lot of people don't know about the hidden stats. So instead of it being a 61, and that's without any adjustments, right? That's without any linear fusion rifle targeting. Basically, this right here is the aim assist 61. It's pretty high. It's pretty high. And I think it could definitely do from a massive nerf. I think it would be good to be at 25, frankly.
Honestly,
Literally, linear fusion rifles, if particularly Arbalest, since it's not a heavy, is already just a really, really great sniper because it has like no zoom, right? It has 25 zoom on a really open, small scope. So Arbalest already feels really good in that sense. Its downside is its charge time. Everything else about it, it's one of the best snipers in the game. Imagine if it had no charge time. This would be the sniper that everybody would use, right? This would literally be it. This would be it. This was no land beyond, basically. But they were like, instead of giving you that, we're just gonna give you that with a charge time, and some cool perks. So yeah, Arbalest is deadly, man. Arbalest is deadly, and I literally don't think they could have done anything else except remove the aim assist. You gotta not remove it, but you gotta make it lower. It's got disruption break. That's a huge deal. You body shot somebody with Arbalest, Darth's gonna run up and one tap you in the head. That's what's gonna happen. Right. So making sure that they got the aim assist out of here is a huge deal. I know that people have been really upset about Arbalest, but of course, we're gonna have to wait until we see some video proof about the changes here. Because we've seen video proof of how bad it is now. People are shooting chest shots and they're getting headshots. So yeah, I'm excited to see how they changed it. I don't know if they're literally just bringing the stat down or if they did some more stuff, but I'm excited to see the change.
I'm gonna go over these stasis ones.
Oh yeah, for sure. Go for it, man. Go for it.
So, as they say in this little paragraph here, where they're making some changes to stasis for March 23rd, the reset. And boy, are they juicy. Let's see. Hunter, Shatter Dive. Remove damage resistance with Shatter Dive.
Yes.
If you're Shatter Diving, you're going to get shot.
Yes.
And they added a 4-second cooldown between each Shatter Dive. Very much needed. I'm a Hunter, and I already know how OP that crap is, so...
Yep.
Like how people like Nag are like, it's not even broken. I'm like, dude, it's literally busted.
Pouty. Looking at you, Pouty.
Pouty. Yeah.
Literally.
Um, and basically they say in all of these changes, they're like, this is mainly just in PvP. PvE is unchanged. So for the Withering Blade, decreased blade damage from 90 to 65 per
Yeah.
player in PvP. That's big. That is a big nerf. Decreased Withering Blade slow stack from 60 to 40, so you don't get frozen from two of them. And decrease the I was having trouble understanding this. Decreased the target acquisition range of Withering Blade after it impacts a player from 12 meters to 8 meters.
Yeah. So from what I understand is that
Mhm.
target acquisition after it so Withering Blade bounces, right? So it
Yeah.
flies out, hits a player. After it hits the player, instead of it going 12 meters to the next
Mhm.
person, it's 8 meters to the next person.
Okay.
If they're outside of the range of 8 meters, it does not have that target acquisition range, and it'll just go somewhere. Um, that I think is a great nerf. I still think it might
Mhm.
be a little like strong, but that's shotgun range, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, most shotguns are at 6 meters, but 8 meters, you're looking at Fellwinters. So if
Right.
someone's sliding in with Fellwinters and you hit someone, and then it hits the next person who's probably running up to Fellwinter you as well, you're gonna slow them. You're not gonna freeze them, and it's still punishing, but it's not
Mhm.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think this is
I want
good.
to.
I think this is good.
Oh yeah,
Before you go into
it
the
was really
Titan,
good.
I think this is really good. The Shatter Dive. I mean, they nerfed it. They nerfed it.
Yeah.
This isn't
Like
a slight nerf. This is a nerf, and I
big
think
Murph.
and they needed it. They needed to do that. I
Yeah.
think Shatter Dive is great, and I think it should have been the same thing as the slide. And I'm glad I don't even have stasis on my hunter. That way, I never knew the power
Yeah.
of constant shatter diving. But when
Yeah.
I realized that I couldn't slide infinitely, why would someone be able to shatter dive infinitely? That didn't make any sense to me. Great
Right.
change. But one of the things I like the most is that the PVE changes,
Yeah.
there are none. When
There
it
are none.
comes to Withering Blade, at least, I think that that's
Yeah.
such a good change because you want to freeze little Thrall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could you imagine you throw in your shurikens at Thrall and they're just like, we don't care. Like, no, you
Yeah.
want to freeze them. Like, you want to be able to do that kind of stuff with these. And that's the same thing even with the range. The fact that the range isn't even impacting PVE enemies, I thought that was a huge deal too. So very, very cool. And the fact that they're able to do that, I don't know, man. I mean, we've been asking for separate
Mhm.
sandboxes for a long time, and I always said I don't want separate sandboxes, but if they could make some tweaks here and there, that would be nice. And
Mhm.
and they've been able to do that recently, so that makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Titan time?
So Titan time, Glacial Quake. We already saw this in the previous
Yeah.
Destiny 2021 update, but they're removing the AOE freeze on the super, which I think is really good.
Oh,
Um,
I think your mic just
PvP now,
changed.
I think.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Is it?
Yeah, you're back.
Um, in PvP right now, let's say they got 3 people collapsing on one Titan, they pop super, all of them are frozen.
Yeah, I love it. It's ridiculous.
So they're getting rid of that completely. PvE enemies stay the same. Uh, Reduced damage resistance from 60 to 50%. Not huge, but good.
It's probably enough to change a bullet or two, right? I think sometimes when we see these percentages, it's hard to tell what it means. But
Mhm.
for example, Darth is out here, getting headshots on these behemoths, and it might take two, but originally it took three. We might not be
Yeah,
able to tell that necessarily because it's a percentage, but they might have just changed the percentage enough for it to be the difference of one headshot or something like that. So hopefully this is just enough to be able to have skilled players shut down the behemoth easier than
right.
before.
Um, Increase the energy cost of Shiver Strike, which is the melee, from 3% to 7% of super energy. Very good.
Yep,
All the Titans just spamming their melees while they're in Shiver
that was the way.
Behemoth. That was the way. Uh, Using the combo of a Shiver Strike into a Heavy Slam. will now cost the full super energy of both. Previously only costed for the slam.
I didn't even know that was a
So
thing. I'm a behemoth.
I didn't know that was a thing either.
I didn't know you could do that. Bro, I would
Yeah.
have been spamming. I'm gonna spam it right now after this. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
running. I'm gonna be flying around slamming. I had no idea. That is OP. That's why people were able to have this for so long. Because I
Right.
was like, yo, you slammed like 8 times. How do you still have your super? It doesn't work that way for me. It's because they were
Mm,
leading into the slam. Thank God they changed that. That's OP, man.
mm-hmm. And they increased the downwards velocity applied to Sugar Strike players when they are slowed to pull them out of the air more strongly.
Let me as a Titan player, let me just expand upon this really quickly. This is a
Yep.
huge deal. This is a
I didn't
huge
understand.
deal. Yo, when I'm shiver striking people and they go flying out, like, and
Yeah.
they can still get out of my super. It's so annoying. Like, I want, or not my super, but my punch. I need you to come back to the ground, which is where I own things. I'm a Titan. If you're on the ground with me, it's a wrap. If you're in the air, you know who's gonna kill you? Somebody who's Icarus dashing. Somebody who gets jumps in the air 3 times. That's who's gonna
Yep.
kill you. Me, I'm a sitting duck when I'm hovering up there. Warlocks are a sitting duck when they're up there if they don't have Icarus dash. But now with this, I'm gonna punch you right out the sky and I'm gonna get you on the ground and you're gonna be slowed. So I'm gonna hit you, you're gonna hit the ground, and now I don't know if that means it's gonna do extra damage, I don't think it will, but it does mean that I'm gonna be able to kind of get in your face faster, and get that extra shotgun shot in you or whatever it is. So
Hmm.
this is actually a I think it's a little bit of a small buff here that people are probably gonna sleep on. But I think
Hmm.
it'll be more consistent and it'll feel better for Titans. Hopefully.
Yeah. So for the Warlock, Winter's Wrath got a bit of a buff for the tracking.
Yeah.
Improved tracking. Winter's Wrath projectiles, tracking strength from its max value over 10 seconds instead of 2.2. That's big.
Yep.
Increase the size of the Warlock's super projectile's proximity detonation by 0.15 meters. um, the proximity detonation now starts at its largest scale and scales down to 40% over time. I don't know what that means. Um,
Yeah. From what I understand is that um so the detonation thing is like when the warlock kind of does their little staff thing up and things
yeah.
blow up. From what I understand is that it's that scaling of the
Oh,
explosion,
yeah.
like it now starts at its largest for
Yeah.
I don't know if that means like damage, and then
Hmm.
the damage goes down. That's my assumption. Where I guess originally it was just full, like if it touched it, it blew up or something. So I'm not 100% sure. I think we're just gonna have to see this. So I think it
Yeah.
seems like the proximity detonation maybe got a little nerf,
Hmm.
whereas everything else got buffed. So,
Yeah.
which I think is good, which was needed. I know Darth is screaming right now in the chat, "Big buff! I need this thing." So, yeah,
Yeah.
I know this Winter's Wrath, good increase.
Now here's the big juicer right here. Decreased penumbral blast damage against players from 80 to 30.
Yeah.
A whole half a bar of health uh, decrease, um, which is very nice. But personally, I don't really see many stasis warlocks in Crucible recently. But
Which one is Penumbral Blast the melee?
I don't, I think it's the melee. I don't know if it's the staff pulse or if it's the melee. Because if it's the staff pulse, that's huge. But I'm pretty sure, like, if you're frozen, you staff pulse, you're dead. But I'm assuming that's the melee.
Yeah, I don't want to get this wrong, so let's just triple check it real quick. Yeah, so it's the melee.
Okay. Okay.
So I thought that's what this was, and that makes it that's a big deal. I
Yeah.
think I know I'd love to know your thoughts on this, Darth, or any other Warlock mains out there. I think when I saw Penumbral Blast originally, like Penumbral Blast is strong because it
Yeah.
freezes a character, which means, and we know that the TTK of weapons are all below 2 seconds. Every single one of them is below 2 seconds. The majority of
Mm.
them are around 1 second. Now you now get a damage decrease if you're frozen, which is great. right, for
Mm.
survivability. But if you use a shotgun or a sniper rifle or a fusion rifle, you actually do
Mhm.
more damage, right? So the idea here, I think, is if you get frozen, you are going to get punished comparatively to getting, slowed where you could still react. If you are frozen, there it is dead time. And the
Yeah.
better you are, the more punishing that is, right? So if
Mhm.
you're a Cami Cakes or better and you're flying around the map and all of a sudden you get a freeze off, when you get frozen, you know it's a wrap because you cannot do anything. And if they froze
Yeah.
you, their reaction time is fast enough to kill you in less than a second. So,
Right.
I think that's big. The big thing here, though, is that it can no longer be used to finish off an enemy. It can
Yeah.
only be used to punish an enemy. Sure, it
Mhm.
could finish off an enemy who's at 30. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you pop shields,
Right.
you can still use
Mhm.
this, but you have to actually gun them down comparatively
Right.
to just being like, "Oh, killed you."
Yeah.
So this is good. This is good, and the fact that
Mhm.
it didn't change in PVE, I
Yeah.
likes that. I likes
Very good.
that.
There's a couple ice flare bolt fix. Increase some target acquisition range of ice flare bolts by 33%. That's pretty big. um, fix the bug where it continuously try to switch. I've seen that bug in game. Like
Really?
the ice flare bolts are just like going back and forth
Oh, what the
between like two
heck?
different enemies. Yeah, it's weird. Um, uh, and increased tuning of speed so they can effectively hit targets. And then chaos reach.
Well, hold on.
Increase the
I want to go
oh,
back to the ice flare bolts because this was like Darth. This was a pretty big issue for you, right? And I think this was a big issue for like most people, even in PVE. Is like you'd shoot off these ice flares and like
mhm,
nothing would happen. It's like where are they going? Like I think I've seen a lot of people use the solar class, and I've seen people use it almost like a shotgun. Like they just walk
yeah,
around like just throwing that thing around. It's not the best super in the world, but it's still usable in some ways. Whereas this thing, you couldn't do anything like that. You couldn't do anything. You'd be like throwing this thing around, and it'd be going like through doors, and like you'd be on the other side of the map, and you'd be like, "What is? That's not where I threw it." So, I think that's definitely a big deal, and I think this might be like one of the bigger changes. So
mhm,
there's that. But anyway, I'll go back to you. I know another one is pretty happy about the Chaos Reach change. So go ahead, read us out the Chaos Reach change.
decrease the amount of super energy refunded when canceling chaos reach early.
Yeah,
Very good change.
yeah. This was big. We saw an increase of Chaos Reaches. I think due to the increase of stasis being incredibly powerful, right?
Mhm,
Like stasis was crazy, so you saw a lot of thunder crashing, you saw a lot of chaos reach, and for people that weren't comfortable with chaos reach, they would just use, Nova Bomb. You even saw an
mhm.
increase in Solar Titans to just throw hammers, hammers at folks too. So, yeah, this was huge. This was definitely a huge change to see Chaos Reach because Chaos Reach is still good. You know what I mean? Chaos Reach is still going to be great for shutting down supers, right?
Right.
But you shouldn't be able to get it 8 times in one game.
Right.
that was insane. But that is that is the
Mhm.
point of it. When it's canceled, so and of course Geomags is still around, so we'll have to see exactly if this gets a change or not.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we're not done just yet. We're not
Not
done
done
just
just
yet.
yet,
We still have a little bit more, and
bro.
just real quickly for everybody to know, right after we're done, the buffs and nerfs, which is just this last part, we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. But I just want to let everybody know. I know we got some new people in here.
Yeah.
Drugan, another one. Thank you guys so much. Let's hit the last part of these nerfs and buffs.
Right.
It's about to get pretty hype.
Bro, I'm so excited. Bro, I'm so excited. Bro, I'll stand up.
Oh,
Dust
oh.
field grenades, reducing the pull distance from 9.5 to 6.
Joe walks away.
I've been talking about this since the month that Beyond Light came out.
Yeah.
I knew from launch that shit needed to get nerfed, and it's finally happening.
Yeah, this was crazy. This was crazy. I didn't really know how they were gonna do it, to be honest. I was like, yo, Duskfield is kind
Yeah,
of crazy. And that's not the only thing. That's not the only thing either.
yeah. Reduce the slow stacks applied to players by their grenade from 20 to 10. Detonation slow stacks are unchanged in PvE. Reduce the slow stacks applied to players on each tick of the grenade from 10 to 5. Unchanged in PvE. Adjusted the UI to better represent how many slow stacks you're getting.
So that's crazy. Let's just like the good thing here is like Duskfield. I think Duskfield is a great grenade in theory, right? It's a punishing grenade. Someone that wants to sit back in the back of the map, snipe, or someone who's just laning and they're just like, oh, I'm gonna peek shoot you the whole time. You're like, I don't think so, right? And a skilled
Yeah.
player will still be able to just place that Duskfield grenade in the right location to get you out and pop off on you, right? Or get
Yep.
you in it and then push you and get clapped, right? It's good. It's very good. The Dustfield grenade is good. This has not changed. It's still going to
Mm-hmm.
pull you if it's put in the right location. If it's like it has to be in shotgun distance. And to be very clear, right? It has to be, it's going to pull you in the lowest shotgun distance for a kill, right? 6 meters. That's good still, but you just have to be more skilled with it. It's not
Yep.
going to instantly freeze you every time. You do have, if you're a hunter particularly, you actually can evade this. If you're a titan, you don't have to waste shiver strike on it. If you're a top tree solar warlock, you don't have to Icarus dash out of it, right? You have the time. And there's also
Mm-hmm.
this whole thing about being slowed. It was so inconsistent and no one knew how it worked, right? So this is so
Mm-hmm.
much better. This X out of 100 makes so much sense because now you can say, I know it has to reach 100 and you're only going up by 5. So
Yeah.
it's effectively taking you like more than half the time to have to get
Yeah.
to where you were going to get frozen originally. So it's still going
Mm-hmm.
to be great for some characters. I know hunters are going to be able to follow it up with some shurikens, but the work
Mm-hmm.
that you have to do to free somebody is much more
Right.
than it was before. This is great. This is a
Mm-hmm.
great
This is
change.
great.
Yeah.
Stasis crystals reduce the damage against players. 85 max, 55 min to 55 max, 25 min.
That's crazy.
That's really weird and crazy. PvE damage is unchanged. Well, it's not weird. That's actually really good.
I feel weird about it.
Uh,
I'm not gonna lie. I feel weird about it. I think
I mean, like,
go ahead, go ahead.
if like let's say like you're a hunter and you're using a glacial grenade, and you freeze someone with it, but you didn't freeze every one of his teammates with it. They're just standing around it though. You shatter dive, that's killing everyone because of the shatter damage.
Yeah.
Um, so now it won't.
I gotta see it.
Uh,
I gotta see it.
yeah.
I think my concern is that like I don't know how many crystals is what. I don't really know.
Right.
It's pretty specific, so I got to see
Yeah.
how this is going to play out personally. I'm a
Mhm.
behemoth titan. I use the uppercut like ice thing a lot, and I use ice walls, and I'm sliding in and breaking them, and I want to cause some chip damage. But if they're close to it, I want to get the kill. And I don't know, like 55 is not a lot. 85 was a lot, and it felt punishing. So I'm hoping
Yeah.
55 still is able to. I'm still able to get a kill, because what's difficult is if you slide into the grenade, it's harder for me to readjust and get the kill because I'm pushing into it
Mhm.
comparatively to a warlock or a hunter that just bounced away from it and sees me sliding into it. So like,
Right.
we'll see. We'll see. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm
Right.
excited to see what it's going to be like. We'll see.
Indeed. Whisper Chains, which is a fragment. Reduce Whisper Chains damage resistance bonus while in super from 25 to 5.
Yo,
Yeah.
this this is good.
Yeah.
This is good because this is one of those things where you were running behemoth, you were not gonna die.
Right.
So this is a good one too. Being able to fine tune the fragments is a really big deal.
Mhm.
Speaking of which, we have another one. So
Um, Whisper Torment fixed a bug where players could continuously proc Whisper Torment while standing inside an opponent's barricade.
I don't remember which one this is. So I'm just gonna look it up real quick. Oh,
Yeah.
grenade damage. Yo, I didn't know that. I'm throwing. Hold up. Can I get
What
some of
is it?
that? This is the one where you would get grenade energy when you take damage. and people would just stand in
Oh,
the
oh,
yeah, so people would stand inside the barricade and they'd be like, oh, hold up, let me get this grenade real quick. I didn't know that. That's crazy. I don't know if people
that's actually
were
like big
using
brains.
this in like a I don't know if people were exploiting this, but the fact that you were able to do
Mm-hmm.
it is kind of crazy. Drugan telling me that I'm throwing out here. You're not wrong. You're not
Mm-hmm.
wrong. All right, and then the
And
last one.
then stasis fragment quests. Significantly reduce objective completion values for all Crucible fragment quests. That's really good. I feel like Crucible will be like the move now
Yeah.
for getting those done.
I actually started picking Crucible over Vanguard because the Vanguard ones are so annoying. I think
I
these
still have one to do.
yeah, me too. I'd do Gambit. I do Gambit over it because even
Right.
Gambit is because Gambit's you're just killing ads. It's really not that bad. So
Hmm.
I think they need to also lower the Vanguard one, and then I think they'll all be in a good way. Especially because I think it's difficult because I don't want to play Stasis when I'm doing the Strike
Yeah.
playlist because if Stasis isn't on the roster, then I'm not doing it. Like if it's not the burn, then I'm not
Yeah.
doing it. And then it's not always beneficial for me to do it in the Nightfall, especially because I'm running Falling Star. I don't want to run Stasis, so
Hmm.
I think that's an interesting thing too. So these are all of the changes. It's big. We're gonna talk about them a little bit more in just a little bit. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. We've been streaming for about an hour and a half already. So we're going to get water, go to the bathroom real quick. 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Another one, thank you so much for coming through. Drugan, of course, Darth. Don't go anywhere. We're going to continue. I know another one just talked about crossplay, Transmog, and Vogue coming out. We're all excited about that. But guys, we will be right back. Do me a favor. Don't go anywhere. back. We're back. I know I just cut it a little short. I know I said 5 minutes. Give you guys. We only took a little 3 minutes. But guys, those were some crazy patch notes. That was pretty sick. Overall, quick overall impressions. Gil, what did you think, man? What did you think?
I'm very excited. I think all of these patches and buffs are very necessary. Stasis is very busted in PvP right now, and I'm glad that things are starting to get taken down a notch. I feel like there's still a couple things they might need to tweak. Hunter Super being the main one.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, this all looks pretty good so far. So I'm very excited for March 23rd.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I
Mhm.
think the only thing at this point that is really a major issue to me would be the hunter super. I don't know how they would nerf that. I mean, I can think of a couple ways. Um, I think an insta hit killing you isn't a big deal. Like, if a super hits you, you're probably gonna die, kind of thing. Um, I think it's hard to outplay, but I think you can do it because you can hear it, you can see the hunter jump in the air, you can predict it. But it's the fact that like it just stays there consistently and follows you around. I think my
Yeah.
issue is that it's like, well, like it's just a better version of Blade Barrage. Like I don't understand that. Like it's just
Yeah.
a better version of Blade Barrage. Like maybe if they nerf it with the stacks of slowing and all that stuff, it just feels like
Mhm.
you're completely screwed if you were even close to it. Because if you get
Right.
slowed, you're gonna get frozen, and then you're gonna get shattered. Because all three of those
Mhm.
things happen with that super.
Right.
So I personally really hope that thing gets nerfed, but I think outside of that, everything else sounds good. And the fact that it's not getting nerfed in PvE is huge.
Very good.
It's huge. Like you're keeping the power fantasy in PvE. I have to say, Warlock in PvE, like for Stasis, Shadebinder,
Yeah.
is good. Like I
It's really good.
love freeze, especially with that one. I don't know if it's a fragment or whatnot, but the thing that like when you kill a frozen enemy, it just keeps chaining. Like
Yeah.
I abuse
Yeah.
that so heavily. It's so good. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of really great synergies, and I think
That's
you
Ice Flare Bolts.
can. Wait, really?
I think so. Yeah.
That's ice flare bolts?
I'm pretty sure that's Ice Flare Bolts.
Oh, I thought ice flare bolts. Oh, okay. I think I thought ice flare bolts were the Winter's Wrath projectiles.
Mhm.
Yes, you're 100% right. Dude, the fact that this is getting buffed is great. Because I love ice flare bolts. They're so good. Yeah, this is gonna be good. I think there's still so much great synergy for all of these characters.
Mhm.
And I think the more nerfed they are and they're in line with everything, the more you can have different not supers but different exotics that buff some of these different pieces.
Right.
Could you imagine if they made an exotic outside of? I mean, look at Bacchus,
Oh
right?
God.
Like, look
Yeah.
at Bacchus. Bacchus is insane. So if Bacchus is
Yeah.
this insane, I mean, imagine what it's like if I don't know, gave hunters some crazy like instead of your special your melee being a blast, instead it was a beam of ice. Like it's like you have to rein it
Yeah.
in so that you have really cool exotics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
like
we're
they
go ahead, go ahead.
like Bungie had like two options. They either nerf stasis completely, every class, every ability or whatever, not every ability, but like every class somewhat
Yeah,
needs a nerf,
yeah,
or buff all the light subclasses up to stasis level,
which would not be good.
which would not be good.
Yeah.
So they've definitely made the right decision.
This is yeah. I mean, I look at some of the top I look at some of the top light subclasses, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good. Period. Doesn't need to be fixed. Great, love it. Bottom tree solar for Titan. Bottom tree for Arc on Titan, which by the way was busted. They nerfed it
Mhm.
really well. I still use that super all the time. Not super. Well, yeah, the super, but also the entire tree. I mean, honestly, top tree void is also really really good. But it's like different trees that need to be fixed, right?
Right.
And like that's okay. Fix the trees a little bit and like you'll be good. But then when Stasis came out and blew everything out of the water, it's kind of like, well, we
Right.
can't even focus on the things that kind of suck. You can't even use the best classes
Mhm.
that are for light subclasses, right?
Right.
You can use Icarus Dash. That's probably the only one that I think a lot of people were still kind of like, well, that one's still pretty
Yeah.
good, but only because of its movement ability. So
Yeah.
this was
I'm
good.
kind of interested to see if they'll do any like sort of customization with light subclasses in the future.
Yeah.
Because like with the stasis, we got like 3 fragments, um, 3 grenade. Well, yeah, 3 grenades for everything else. We got like what is it now? Like 8 or like 10 fragments.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like weird how light subclasses don't get that kind of customizability,
So,
but
so they did mention that. They did mention that a while back that that is a possibility that we might see something like that. There actually is. Uh, question is if I can find it. Um, there is a thing that I was trying to find a little while back. I can see if I can try and find it. Where someone in the Destiny community made, um, like they made a mock-up of what that could look like for
mm,
solar sub or not solar but just like light subclasses in general.
mhm.
So it is possible. I will see. Why can I not get to my account right now? There it is, profile. I let me see if I can find it. Because I think it would be that would be pretty cool to show you guys. Um, let's see, because it was pretty dope.
Yeah.
I promise I will not spend that much. Oh, perfect! Look at that. Perfect. Um. Oh, actually, this was a different one, but this is by the same guy. So, Destiny News, at Destiny News Com. If you guys want to see that, Destiny News Plus. This guy reposted, someone's artwork. Someone had an idea for like gravity subclasses, which I thought was cool. But the thing that I really wanted to show you guys was, I promise,
I think it'd be cool if they brought back the Dread Fang.
I like how you saw that. You were like, hold up.
That'd be cool for Witch Queen or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's in here somewhere. Hold on, hold on. I promise. I'm not going to spend forever on this. But it was, I wanted to actually bring this. Oh, there it is. Okay, here we go. Um, Eon935 is the person's name. I believe they don't have a Twitter account. But here are the images of what someone thinks at least it could look like. Let me open it up so we can like zoom in a bit. So you can see here's Night Stalker, right? I think what's difficult, right, is that you are taking things away. I think people
Mm,
love the customization of Stasis, but we don't have 3 separate trees in Stasis, right?
right.
And that makes things a little weird. It's not like there's actually less content necessarily, but it does feel like you're taking things away. So
Hmm.
when we look at Night Stalker, this was kind of the guy's idea here. And you can actually scroll down and you can see like here are the changes that this person would make. Shadow shot changes, shoots 3 tethers, 5 to 6 with Orpheus rig, rapidly suppressing and debuffing enemies. So this is more like the one that shoots multiple, not like the one that shoots like one and does a bunch of tethers.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you can see kind of what this person thinks the changes would be. And Eon made a bunch of them. I believe Eon actually has them. Yeah, for Warlock too. So here's one for
Hmm.
Warlock. Here's like a solar one, which is interesting. And one of the things that was cool here is that they actually did something where they were like, oh yeah, well you could actually swap out the super, so you could just have
Hmm.
Daybreak or Well of Radiance, which was kind of cool too. So maybe they could do that, so it doesn't feel like you're losing as much. But it is an interesting idea or change nonetheless. So. But they did mention they were like, we want to do changes to light subclasses, but it's gonna take us some time. And I think the reason it's gonna take
Right.
them time is because they're trying to give us our darkness subclasses, and they'd rather bring up the light subclasses and not completely redo them because you don't
Right.
need to recreate the wheel here. It would be nice, but like it's a nice to have comparatively to having
Yeah.
completely new sub. Like I'd love to have 2 new darkness subclasses, and we could get these changed later.
Right.
Um, yeah. Well, let's go back to the TWAB. We're not done the TWAB just yet, guys. There is still some more information, but that was the end of the nerfs and buffs. Let's go on to the next segment. they do vote in herds. Basically, you can probably already tell here, dinosaurs win. So if you guys got to vote, then good job, proud of you guys. But if you didn't get to vote, you missed it. That's okay. But dinosaurs won, so we are getting the dinosaur skins for the Halloween events, which for some reason I can't think of the name of right now. Festival of the Lost. Festival of the Lost. Of course, this is a pretty cool art piece, which I think is pretty dope. I'm happy about this. I wanted dinosaurs. You heard this last time. Me and Gil both were voting for the dinosaurs. The only good monster one, at least in my book, was for the Hunter Godzilla thing. But look, I didn't want to be a hairy Cyclops, so we got the vote, and they're gonna get their money because of it. So it was totally worth it. They did mention though, which by the way, Titans voted Team Dino 81% to 19% for Team Monster. So you knew no Titan wanted to go ahead and be a hairy Cyclops. Let's just put that out there now. No Titan wanted that. So I thought that was pretty funny. But apparently there is still an opportunity in the future for the monster sets to come out. So I thought that was pretty cool. They also say many thanks for those who participated. And they also say the first stab. And I thought that was kind of cool because that probably means we're going to get more of this in the future. So who knows? But I'm excited to see more of these community votes. It's fun. I think it's fun. I know Azzacross was saying, oh, who knows? We might get this kind of stuff in the future in the sense that we might get it baked into the game, which I think would be pretty cool, where in-game a little thing comes up and says, like, hey, what do you want? I like it, but at the same time, I like to be very immersed in my game, so I'm okay with it being outside, but more people voting is always better. So I wouldn't be it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, especially if like you go to Ada and Ada's like, I'm working on some new designs. What do you think? Or like you go to Eververse and she's like, new designs coming, Guardian. Like and you're like, oh, like I think that'd be kind of cool. You happy, Gil? Dinosaurs?
Yes, very happy.
Yeah.
I liked the monster one for hunters, but I knew dinosaurs was the right way to go.
That's right. That's right. There is a right way to vote. Okay. Anyway, all right. So this next part is patch prep. So they talk about, hey, we've got a bunch of different things going on in terms of things being broken. They talk about the timeline for the maintenance and the update coming out, of course. They talk about a lot of the issues here that they already kind of mentioned, like Dune Marchers and things like that. So again, if you're interested in that kind of information, it's there. Another thing, it seems like Clan XP, seems like that might be, what is this? A result in testing being done. Looks like there was a Clan XP issue. And I guess it's
disabled.
It's being
Tuesday.
Okay, so I guess it's being disabled. So, I mean, I don't really care. Clan stuff is so boring. Which maybe we'll talk about it at some point. But here's the biggest thing. And we already talked about this a little bit. Trials of Osiris, baby. It's back.
Coming back tomorrow.
So Trials is back. Yay for those who are excited about Trials. I know this is like the reason why Mex is here. He wants his Trials back. I don't know, Darth, if you're still here, or another one of you here as well. Like, are you guys excited for this? I know for me, I'm cool with it. Like, Trials is back. I'm gonna play it. I'm excited to play Trials. I'd love to play Gil, maybe Hansel. I think that would be dope if we can get some time in. Don't get me wrong. Happy to get carried as well, as always. But yeah, I'm excited to see what the 3-win is. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a really spicy 3-win, since we had this. It's been gone, so I wouldn't. It'll probably be. Yeah. I would not be surprised if we saw Igneous Hammer. Honestly, I'd be okay if it was the Fusion Rifle. I really want to kickstart Fusion Rifle. But I'm okay with Igneous Hammer too. So I'm hoping that the 3-win is spicy and you see a lot of people just jumping in there. Just to be clear, this is not Trials 2.0 or Trials 3.0. This is Trials of Osiris just coming back. I know a lot of people were saying maybe Trials will be out until they fix it. with all of its other issues. No, they're not going to do that until next season at least. Come on now.
Yeah.
But at least they got Trials back. It's only been out for 2 weekends. I think that's pretty good for knowing that there was just rampant cheating. Which
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you guys. I think we're still going to see it. I think the fact that we know, I think the
Yeah.
fact that we know that people were cheating is going to make people want to figure it out more. Um, who cares? I mean, to me, I think if it's open, the people that want to play it, it's going to be open for. I think it just depends on what that win is going to be. And as we mentioned before,
Mhm.
I think it would have been dope if they did like a two times, trials tokens weekend, where it's like,
Mhm.
hey, it's back. You get two times the tokens. People would play for more than just flawless. And I know that's been a big issue. They were talking about that last time. Is that they were like, yeah, we get it. Like, we flawless. It feels like flawless is the only reason to play trials right now. And I mean, Gil, I've
Maybe.
been trying so hard to get our clan internally to think about it differently, right? I've
Yeah.
been trying to get people to say, hey, look, instead of going for flawless, go for the 3 win.
Go for the
Focus
three.
on the
Yep.
3 win. Once you get the 3 win, if you like it, go do some
Go for
bounties.
5.
Yeah, like go right. See if you can go for 5. Like it's not a huge. You don't have to wipe every time because you can't get the flawless. Of
Right.
course, there's going to be folks that are trying to go to flawless, and that's
Right.
okay. But I think the average person should be thinking about that 3 win, that 5 win, that 7 win. I think some of
Yep.
that might just be imaging, like UI. I think it would be cool if like at the beginning of every Friday, how they say Trials is back. Instead of just
Yeah.
saying Trials is back, they say here's the wins. They show the 3-1 win, and then they show the 5 win, and then they show the 7 win, and then they show the
Yeah.
flawless win. So that way you're like, oh man, man, at least if I get the 5 win, I can feel special, like.
Right.
But like, I think that you have to have varying levels of success, and right now it just feels like you
Right.
fail if you don't go flawless. So
Yeah. I think people who like go in to a trials card expecting a flawless is very like damaging towards your mental for that
yeah,
day. Like if you're going in expecting a flawless and you lose first round, you're gonna be pissed. You're not willing to play. So like that's kind of the mindset I adopted the weekend before trials got canceled. Um, I was like, well, I know personally I'm not good enough to go for flawless by myself.
yeah,
Like I can't. Like I'm just not at that skill level. Um, so I'm like, well, go for the 3. If we hit 3, cool. Let's go for 5. If we hit 5, okay, let's actually try and get 7. Um, you try and go to Lighthouse. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, Trials is rough. Trials is literally random, right? I think a
yeah,
lot of people forget that. At this point in time, they did say they're going to try and change some things around skill level, which I think is good. I think they're trying to escape the peaks, right? Because
right.
again, let's say me and Gil are top 50, top 60%, right?
Mhm.
Um, I don't want to go against a top 5%er, right? I want to go against a top 30%er. I want that to be my difficult spike, right? My difficulty spike. So, I think that would be how I look at it. Scarlett, thanks for the kind words. Don't worry, me and Gil are gonna do it. Me and Gil are gonna make it. We are gonna play this weekend. I have faith that we're gonna find some time to play this weekend. And
Is Darth busy or something?
yeah, I saw that, Darth. Why can't you carry it till the 23rd? What you mean? You can't carry tonight? What you mean? I was gonna stay up. No, I'm just kidding. I live on the West Coast, so it won't actually matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's going on with that? I assume you're playing though. I assume you're playing Trials this weekend. Let me know. All right, all right, all right. So that's most of the important stuff in the TWA. But of course, we have all of the content of the week. So first and foremost is the movie of the week. This is hysterical. I gotta show you guys this if you haven't seen it already. Let me bring this up for you guys real quick. This is so great. Check this out. I wish I knew that this was a thing because I mean it was pretty funny when I first saw it. So let me just. Oh, I can't actually make this any bigger for you guys, unfortunately. Or maybe I can just zoom in. Will that work? Kind of. All right, I'll show you guys real quick. Look at this. Thunder crashes.
I'm already on top of it.
Oh, there he is. Champions. Yeah, keep jumping.
Oh no!
So this guy
Oh my
literally.
god, we're pushing it down.
This guy literally just the whole. There's a 12-man strike, right? And they
Keep it
literally
down,
just
keep it
like
down.
all jump on the ship. This was the Nightfall,
Get it.
and they push the ship into the ground. That's pretty great. That's pretty great. This is this is interesting. I think this is like the kind of stuff
I'm
where
already on
like,
top of it.
you're seeing 12-man Nightfalls like open up and seeing what people like. This is just so funny though. Like literally a whole 12-man squad jumps on the most annoying boss in the game, the ship, and just plunge it into the ground. It's just so funny. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah. It's good. It's good. I thought this was good. And then there's one more. Actually, was there two in this one? No, one more. Oh yeah, there was two this time. So this one is actually a montage. So let's go ahead and jump this. I don't know if you guys have seen Destiny montages. I am obsessed with Destiny montages. I think that they are some of the coolest montages. Oh no! I accidentally. Oh no, I accidentally clicked the channel. I think that they are some of the coolest, videos and montages out there. Like when I watch a Call of Duty montage, I'm always like, yeah, it's cool. But when I watch a Destiny montage, I'm always like, yo, why is this so fresh? It's always so good. So let's go ahead. This is only 2 minutes, so we're gonna watch it. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Look at this. It's so fresh. Oh my god. This is by Call Me John, Dixies, and Dixies I believe is the actual player. Oof. Oof. Look at that double shot. Oh, look at that third. That's basically Darth right there. Come on now. Clap. That's beloved for you. It's so good. These transitions. The slowdowns. Oh, the timing. The transitions are the best. So good. I love it. Look at these snipes. Like, how does this not make you want to play this game? No wonders. Top 3 solar. Double kill. Like, this makes me want to snipe. You know what I mean?
Right.
You just kill MP edits. I could have swore I just saw MP edits on there. Dude, those drag shots.
Oh my god, bro. That's insane.
Beautiful. Yeah, well, I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love montages. It's so good. Scarlett actually says, I go and watch D2 montages for inspiration for my Apex montages, just so we're clear. Yeah, I mean, they're just so good. I love them so much. All right, and then this is the last one. This is, if you guys didn't know, because of TikTok, sea shanties are very popular right now. And this is one from Lee Roberts called Running to Europa. Let's go ahead and take a listen to it.
Hey boys, flying to Europa with my ghost in tow. Way me boys, Europa. Varric's been a bad boy, dragging him home. Running to Europa. Way me boys, Europa.
Yeah.
running to Europa.
Okay.
Oh, I got a fire team, 6 in all. Way me boys, Europa.
Europa.
Lock and loaded anytime duty calls. Running to
Europa.
Way me boys, Europa.
To Europa.
Running to Europa.
To Europa.
Aramis got stasis in fist. Way me boys, Europa.
In fist.
Gonna get me some of that, I'll use it too. Running to Europa.
I'll use it too.
Way me boys, Europa.
Europa.
Running to Europa.
Europa.
Got a new dance spot from the tower.
Oh.
Way me boys, Europa.
Okay.
Can't tell if it's supposed to be a cat or a flower. Running to
Okay.
Europa. Way me boys, Europa.
That's quality.
Running to Europa.
I can imagine that this is very popular on TikTok, Destiny community TikTok. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I love movies of the week. They're fire. It's always just cool to see like what people do in their own time when they love this game. So that's always good. And of course, we have Artist of the Week as well. The first one, oh my god. So actually, I don't know if I told you this, guys. I'm getting art done by someone who was on the last Artist of the Week. So I'm excited to show you guys that when that gets done. I also have some artwork that's already done by someone who actually had to cancel my request. So I have like the bones of it, so I can show you guys that too. But it's so cool. Look at this. This is so cool. I love it. It's like Star Wars, kind of, you know what I mean? You've got Crow in the middle, Osiris bottom left. You got the ships in the background. You've got Keitel. Of course, you got Salad Man. And then Ikora. I think that's Ikora or something in the background who's just like kind of in there. It's just so cool, though. I love it so much. The art is cool. Like I would get a poster of this for sure. Like it's just so dope. And then we have one more, Nova with no warp. Which I thought was pretty cool too. Just pull it up so you guys can see it larger. There we go. Yeah, which is pretty cool. I like that a lot. Yeah. So that's the art of the week. Those are the movies of the week. What do you think, Gil?
Very nice, very nice. Like the whole Artist of the Week movie thing, or like?
Yeah, this whole thing. What did you think about any of them?
Well, I didn't even know the pilot thing was a thing.
Yeah,
that you could
them
do.
all just jumping on it.
Yeah.
That means they have built-in physics, which is really cool. Like that means they have like their physics engine is like, oh yeah, take all of like Guardians weigh a certain amount, right?
Yeah.
And the ship can hold a specific amount for no reason. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just a ship, but they did it. It's on there.
And man, I aspire to be as good at sniping as these guys are.
Right.
Like, good lord. I mean, you honestly, it's hard to pull off those kind of snipes on a controller, but some of them. But yeah, that
three.
was
I
insane.
think I'm always impressed because it's like 3 in a row. Like
Right.
I've pulled off some good snipes.
1,
I've even
2,
pulled
3,
like 2 snipes in a row, you know. But like just to completely feel confident about 3 snipes in a row, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's hard. Not saying that people can't. I know people do it. Vanguard can do it. You know, I'm sure As the Cross did it back before he was on PC, and he was playing controller for a long time on PC. So I know some crazy good players can do it. But yeah, when you see it, you're like, God, man, how? You like that she shanty?
That was lit, bro. That's a Grammy nomination. Whatever.
That's gonna be our intro. So instead of the bumping music I have now, I'm just gonna change it to this. And it's gonna be great. And then of course you got the great art. As always.
I'd make a poster out of that for sure.
Yeah, as always. Great. So it's up to you. Actually, I didn't even see this part. Was there I didn't even read this. Is there some interesting stuff in here? Cheers to the fire teams, better place, heading to the weekend, spending some time with my Grandmaster fire team, figuring out. Okay. Cool. So here's the thing. We're coming up on about 2 hours now. And so I'm wondering, Gil, do you want to go to our next hidden topic, or do you want to save it for another day? I know we had a long intro. Up to you if you have the energy for it.
I definitely have the energy for it.
All right, we're gonna keep going, guys. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. So we've got some interesting things that I want to talk to you guys about. Destiny's in a cool spot. I love Destiny. I love Destiny 2. I think it's a great game. There's always room for improvement, though. And there is one content creator that I think does an excellent, excellent job at explaining, basically, like what kinds of things could be different, what kinds of things could be better in Destiny. And that guy's name is Kujay, Kujay. And this guy, YouTuber. I don't know if he's also has a Twitch or anything like that. But this guy makes some in-depth videos, Kujay, on basically how Destiny 2 could change for the better, and add new content, etc. And this guy has a video called "It's Time for Weapons 2.0." Shout out to Darth Dominic for sending me this video in the first place. This guy deserves a ton of views. He only has 23,000 subscribers. Don't get me wrong, way bigger than me. But I'm just saying, for someone that puts this much time, energy, quality videos, this guy deserves a bunch of views. So I wanted to go ahead and just put that out there in general. And if you wanted to watch this video, I'll go ahead and post it in the chat for those that are here live. Otherwise, you can just look up the name of it. It's Time for Weapons 2.0. Here's how loot can evolve in Destiny 2 Beyond Light. This is an old video. Older. Came out on January 29th. Now, we're not going to do a live reaction to the entire thing, but I did want myself and Gil to go through some of it. I wanted to kind of just bring up some of the different pieces that he talks about in this video. He basically wants to revamp all of Destiny 2's loot systems. And I don't hate that. I really don't hate it. I think he has some good ideas. And so basically what I was thinking is just going through the different ideas that he has. And the first thing that I kind of wanted to go over was part 1 of his video, rare weapon improvements. So he basically breaks down all of the different pieces of what loot currently is in Destiny 2, and then he kind of gives alternatives. And so I just wanted to go over it and see what you guys think, of course. Scarlet, Darth, anybody else that's here, anybody who's watching afterwards. What do you guys think about an idea of Weapons 2.0? If you were to change weapons, how would you do it? And so that's what we're going to go over today. So basically, in the beginning, when he talks about rare weapon improvements, he basically says that he would like to see rare weapons become an actual part of our arsenal. So he says, rare weapons, we just throw them away, along with white weapons, which is common, and then green weapons, which is uncommon. And he also says that he would like to see some changes so that they can be fully masterworked. So let me go ahead and actually pull up some of these really quickly. Just some of the images that he makes custom images for a lot of this stuff, which I think is very, very cool. And so one of the things he does here is actually show he would like to see blue weapons look a little bit more like this. So you can see this is a blue weapon, but what he does is he says, hey, they should be able to be masterworked. If I have a blue weapon that I really like, it's going to have a cool perk on it. This one has kill clip. It has one perk, right? Which he says is fair because in D1 or D2, the beginning of D2, I don't know if you guys remember, we only had one perk on our weapons. The only weapons that had 2 perks were from raids. With of course, the Leviathan, those were the first ones that had 2 perks. So it was kind of like, wow, what if we could make blue weapons have 1 perk and still be somewhat good, right? So this is like an Antiope looking SMG. And what he's saying here is, it has kill clip. It's a good weapon. No, it doesn't have
Clip and ricochet rounds.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's got ricochet rounds. This is no joke. And what he's saying is, why don't you also allow us to just masterwork it so it can create orbs? So it is a part. If we want it to be part of our arsenal, we can have it, and then you can also put a mod on it. Like, why not, right? I thought that this was pretty interesting. Before we jump from this is part one, I would say, of what he wants the change to look like. But another thing that he was saying for the change, so you can see here, he's pointing, he's saying, hey, let us masterwork it. And then he kind of talks about, I don't know why he shows high energy fire there. He talks about how for armor, you can already customize blue armor. So why can't you, customize and masterwork blue armor, right? He also says that rare weapons would be the base of everything, and so you can see here he shows that Banshee would be able to basically, you can get any rare weapon from Banshee. So you go to Banshee and you'd say, hey, like I collected this rare weapon, I want it back now, so you could buy it from Banshee. So that's kind of another reason to have the gunsmith, which is an interesting choice there as well. I don't think he really adds anything else. Oh, the other thing is that he would add an auto dismantle for rare engrams. This is something that would be off by default, but you could turn on later in the game. So that's an option as well. So I think from there, those are all of his ideas. And so I want to start, Gil, what do you think with these ideas? And we can start, of course, with reworking what a blue weapon even is, which again would be a single perk weapon that is allowed to be masterworked and is allowed to be add a mod to it.
Yeah. So first off, I don't think that. I think that this whole idea in the first place is really good. There are a lot of weapons that higher tier players, they'll crap on people and quick play with blues.
Aachen?
Like straight up Aachen.
Nag's favorite, the Kuboid.
Void. Mainly Aachen.
Botheration, the shotgun.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's like one hand cannon that some people use too.
Yeah.
But I mean, all around it looks like a really good idea. I think it would be good, like in case like you don't have this god roll, like let's say in this instance, like you don't have your god roll Antiope,
right?
But you have this really good blue that's at power cap. It should be viable to be used instead of all these legendary items just completely outgunning it.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a pretty good idea.
Yeah, one of the things I forgot to mention is he actually said no power cap for these weapons either, which I think makes sense as well. They already don't really have a power cap, right? Like you're not saying, oh, sorry guys, but the Sondok is actually getting is getting sunset, right? Which I do have to add as well. At this point in time, sunsetting was still a thing, and if you didn't know, sunsetting is getting canceled, so no more sunsetting. But at this point, sunsetting was a thing, and so a lot of these ideas did come around because of sunsetting. We'll talk about that when we get there. I agree with you. I think that this is fun. I think that this is cool. I think if someone new joins the clan, and I say, I mean, you've seen me do. Everybody who's who's in this clan knows. I'm like, hey, do you have let's start with Lament. No, I don't have Lament. Oh yeah, no worries. You have Falling Guillotine. What is that again? Never mind.
Honor's Edge.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Let me see it. Oh, energy transfer. Oh yeah, garbage. Imagine if I could just say, oh yeah, just pull out that blue sword. You know, everybody has the blue sword. Yeah, just pull that out. You'll get a legendary sword later. Don't worry. We'll grind for it. Right. Like, I do agree with that. I kind of like this idea. I'd love to know what other people think. Of course, in the chat, in the comments section, let us know what you think. I think the idea of changing up, allowing blues to matter to some degree is good. I do have to say, I do still think in the end, blues are garbage, right? I think at the end, it's okay, right? If you look at any game, the white weapons in the beginning are literally there to set the stage. Green weapons are there to have a little bit of personality and to give you kind of like a, thank God I'm not using that crap anymore, right? And then you have weapons that you can use. And I think that's where blue kind of comes in. But at the end of any great looter game, Diablo, whatever, you're using the top tier weapons. You're not using garbage. So I do think when you come into a season and you're like, man, all right, it's time to grind again. Like, here we go. Let me pull out my, you get a blue weapon. You infuse it into another blue weapon that you already own because it is worth it. It's good. It's fine. But it's not
I think that would
utter
be good.
garbage.
I think that would be good if fusing blues into other blues did not cost an upgrade module.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you mean blues in its totality, not just like
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that. I can
Yeah.
see that. I mean,
I
I
can
think
I can understand like putting legendaries into exotics, legendaries into legendaries costing upgrade modules, but like
yeah.
blues, that should not cost an upgrade
I
module.
think I remember him saying this, where I think he said something about infusion cost. I'm not seeing it here right now, but I think I remember him saying something about infusion cost and it costing a lot less. And I think that would be fair too. If like the infusion cost was just cheaper, I would be okay with that too. If he was like, oh yeah, like infusion cost is only is half or even way less than half. It's only glimmer or something like that,
Yeah.
and it's like half the glimmer that it costs for legendaries. Yeah, sure. Like why
Right.
not? Cool. All right. Well, what about the idea around Banshee and Banshee having all the blues here?
I think that's a really good idea. I mean, let's say you don't have like, let's say falling guillotine. Like you don't have a guillotine, you don't got your, or like a good guillotine, like you don't have your jagged, your sword masters, your relentless, or your whirlwind. If you got a blue sword with jagged, sword masters, no third perk but whirlwind, I'll use that. Straight up, that's really good, even without relentless. So I think rare weapons having a vendor and being a good substitute for guns that you don't have yet is a very good idea.
Yeah. The way I thought about it was I think this is actually selling Banshee short. So it's a little bit different. I completely agree with the fact that blue weapons should be obtainable, but we already have that. It's called collections.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think leave the blues in collections. But I think it would be cool to have Banshee remind people of why these blue weapons are good, and then maybe their legendary counterparts. So
Right.
think about it this way, right? Back in D1, we had Banshee's bounties, right? Gunsmith bounties.
Right.
And so my thoughts on it would be, okay, let's say you get that blue Antiope looking thing, right? Let's say you use that because he gives you a bounty that says, hey, use this blue weapon real quick. And you're like, yeah, sure. You go out and you're like, damn, this thing has kill clip? Okay, this thing's kind of fire. I like this thing, right? Or let's say it has Rampage or whatever Bungie decides is a good perk on it, right? Quick draw, whatever, right? You're like, damn, this is kind of nice. So you're using it, and you're like, yeah, this is nice. And then at the end, he gives you a legendary variant of that, right? So like whatever archetype that is, he gives you a random one in that archetype, and you go, oh shoot, this is that weapon, but just different. Like I think that kind of play would be kind of cool. But I don't think that like Banshee should be the vendor for it. I love the idea that you can go get your blues again.
That makes sense.
That's fine. But I don't think we need a whole vendor.
Make it like a kiosk or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if you need. I mean, you can go into collections, right? I do think like collections needs a whole new thing anyway. Like the fact that there are things that you can get in there and things that you can't get in there. I think all that is just kind of a mess. I think if like Banshee had a whole new system where like you could go get random rolled things or something like that, that's fine. And maybe that's a video we'll check out later because a lot of people have thoughts about Gunsmith being something more, being a real gunsmith. Because right now, Banshee's no gunsmith for us.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing. Cool. And then I think the last thing, of course, which I think everyone agrees with, auto dismantling blues. At some point, right, you're done. At some point, you have all the blues and you're past power cap, soft cap, 1300, and you're like, I don't need these anymore. They're garbage. You click that button.
Literally like greens from D1. You run over them, armor materials, bang.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. I think blues are. Why do they exist if you can't, if they're not good anyway, right? And then if they were serviceable, at least let us decide if we want them if they're already static rolled anyway. So I totally agree with all that. Great. So moving on from the blues, we are now looking at legendary weapon improvements. So in general, he kind of states that legendary weapons are basically the same. He's like, legendary weapons are fine the way that they are. He says that they should basically come from, your normal ritual things, as well as your seasonal content, right? Lost sectors, killing dregs, or just, general ads out in the field. And I was like, yeah, okay. For the most part, that makes sense. From what I remember, he really doesn't go in depth with much more. But one of the things that he did talk about was reworking a weapon. So basically what he says here, you can see it here, re-roll the stat bonuses provided by this weapon. Materials and currencies used previously on this weapon will not be refunded, and so it would cost enhancement prisms and legendary shards. From what I understand, re-rolling the stat bonuses provided by this weapon, I assume that this is talking more about the masterwork. But I'm not 100% sure, and I wish I had taken some better notes on it so I could better tell you, but I'm pretty sure that's what that is supposed to be for.
Yeah, that looks like it.
Yeah. And then he also talks about going back to the original D2 system of, actually, was it? Yeah, back the original D2 system where energy weapons could change. So I know a lot of people actually sometimes covet their old Warmind weapons. So there are people who have Ikelo's hand cannon in solar. So he's basically saying bring that back and allow us to change the polarity. So there's that. So it's two things so far: being able to re-roll as well as change the polarity of your weapon. This is actually a good example here. He's saying, the Ikelo's hand cannon can now only come in void, and you might not want it in void. So he kind of talks about that. And then if we move forward again, he's basically saying here, what if I want this what is this, Nation of Beasts to turn into a void version, right? Which is an idea for sure. And then he says here's like the cost for it, very similar to changing it for armor. And I think that's pretty much all he says there. So let's go ahead and pause for a sec. Gil, what do you think about this one?
I'm like, so looking at I'm a big cost guy.
Yeah.
Some of these things right now in game that you have to buy, I'm like, why does it cost that much? But for people who grind D2 and it's not that big of a deal for them. But for me, it's well, I came back in Season of Arrivals.
Right.
So I'm nowhere near the amount of enhancement cores or prisms or golf balls that some of these other people have. That's why I literally have one piece of masterwork armor. And I think just adding more stupid high amounts of cost on a weapon just to re-roll its masterwork is a little unnecessary. I mean, of course it would cost something, but and even that doesn't even look that bad. But enhancement prisms are kind of expensive.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
They're not cheap. So if it was enhancement cores, in the end, masterworks aren't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But other than that, I have no problems with what he said.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you. I think this was yeah, sure. If you wanted to re-roll it, I think that's fine. I think if you went to Banshee and you were like, hey, this weapon is my baby, but I really don't need this masterwork to be reload. Can you change it? Okay. Yeah. But I do think there's kind of a slippery slope mentality there where it's well, what else can you change? Can you also change a random perk? Right. Now, he doesn't say that. He actually brings this up later, but I wouldn't hate this. I think cost-wise, I'm actually okay with the cost, but I understand what you're talking about, where it's I'm not even close to this. But I don't think that someone who's newer to the game needs to worry about this, right? I think that's,
Right.
you know, if you go and you look at this and you're like, I'm good, like this masterwork's fine, then you won't ever worry about this anyway. But once you get to a point where you have 3 sets masterworked of armor, you might actually want to say, well, now what do I do with my enhancement prisms? Well, now I might actually want to re-roll. Oh man, I forgot I had this god roll. Let's stick with the Antiope. I got this god roll Antiope. Oh, but this masterwork is garbage. Oh man, I can change it finally, right? I think there is some space, some room for that. So I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I think it's an okay idea. I don't think it's necessary though. I think I'm okay with getting multiple rolls. I think it kind of ruins the multiple roll thing, right? If I get, you know how many gnawing hungers I have, right? Like, you know, when I got like subsistence rampage, subsistence demolition, sometimes the only difference would be the fact that it was stability masterwork or range masterwork, because there's not that much variety, and I don't necessarily want to go like pay to change it, because you know it's gonna get me mad. I pay to change it, and then the next one I get had that
It's a
masterwork
reload
already.
speed.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. So like I think some of it is like, well, you have to balance this being a loot-driven game and wanting customization at the same time. So I don't hate this idea. I don't love it. I think I give it a 6 out of 10.
I had an idea
Okay.
a little while ago for like helping people being able to like get that good armor that they want.
Yeah.
Almost like the exotic cipher thing for Zur. Like when you spend it, you can get a quest from him and you can just get a new one. You can only carry one. I almost wanted to do the same thing, but for golf balls. So like once a week, go to Banshee, grab some kind of bounty or quest, and then when you finish it, you get a golf ball. I'd honestly be very okay with that. Because right now, I think I have like 4 to my name.
Yeah.
I
don't
wouldn't be
know.
opposed to that, but yeah, it would have to be across all characters. Otherwise, that's
Yeah.
broke. But
I mean, I think they have that now to some degree for the you know, for Crucible and for Gambit. You know, like if you like Crucible, play Crucible, you will get a golf ball. You like the game, play the game, you're gonna get golf balls from the season pass. Same with Gambit. I think adding an extra one for Banshee isn't bad, to be honest. But I think there's also still that same thing with you know, it's easier to get enhancement prisms. The easiest thing is to get enhancement cores, and you can buy enhancement prisms with cores, and you can buy golf balls with prisms, right? So I do think that's there, but I do agree with what you're saying. I think that there could be something to help folks at least kind of understand how the masterworking system works, because at the end of the day, like, you don't need masterwork armor. Like, you don't need, like, this is for like really, like, let's be completely honest. You can play and beat every single thing in this game with flat armor that you got straight from the battle pass.
Right.
You don't need to do
up.
anything. But
like literally, like let's say like Season of Arrival's Titan armor. Oh my god.
Yeah. But if you want to fine tune it, right? If you want to make these little, you know, bits and pieces changes, you can do it. So I think there is a way to introduce people to like that, and it might be from Banshee. You know, I would say maybe like 4 times maximum a season, where he's like, hey, because like a golf ball, you only need 1 golf ball to masterwork. A week? A golf ball a week? Bro, you're talking about masterworking pieces all over the place. 4, I think, maybe even 5 could be okay, but no more than that, because now you're saying every season you can masterwork a whole thing of armor, and then you can also masterwork more armor from all these other vendors, and it shouldn't be that big of a deal, at least to me.
That's true.
And if you want it to be a big deal, you're going to have to really get your butt out there and grind some Grandmaster Nightfalls, some Master Level Nightfalls. Like, you can't just be getting them willy-nilly. Like, masterworking is for end game, because you don't need it for anything else. You don't need it for anything else. Like, when I talked to Phoenix, who's you know, a member of actually co-founder of the Obsidian Gears, you know, he plays once a week. Plays maybe twice a week. Normally it's once a week, and it's only for like 2 hours. So like when I, you know, help him get ready, you know, one of the things I'm not telling him is like, oh man, you got to masterwork that piece now. Come on, you got to grind for one of those. Nah, I'm not telling him that. But I agree though. I do think there should be a little bit more room to get people on board. What do you think about the energy type? I remember this was a big deal. This was a
Um,
huge deal back in the day. People were like,
Yeah,
"What? You
I
can't
wasn't
change it anymore."
I wasn't around for this.
Oh, okay.
So I had no idea this was even a thing.
Yeah.
Um, but on paper, it looks really nice.
This is exactly what
But-
it looked like, by the way.
Oh yeah.
This is exactly what it looked like. I'd love to know what other folks think too. Scarlett, I know you were around for it. Darth, you were obviously around for it. Anybody else in the comments, whatnot? What if we brought the energy type back? I'm gonna put my feelings out there already. I know a lot of people want to see this back. I don't. I do not want to see this back. I love the personality of weapons. I think the second you say, "Oh, they could be anything," you lose personality. When I say something like far future, someone might go, "Oh, the solar sniper," right? They're not going to say, when I say, "Oh yeah, man, like far future," they don't just say the aggressive sniper. They say, "Oh, the solar aggressive sniper." You don't lose any personality there, and it allows you to have more, because otherwise, right?
Like as soon as someone says falling guillotine, like immediately you're thinking
The
void.
void sword.
Like, right.
So like the way I'm thinking about it, right, is if I have falling guillotine, that is the one falling guillotine archetype weapon, right, that I can have, which I don't remember what it's called. Or we'll use the bolt caster.
Whirlwind frame.
What is it called?
I think it was like whirlwind frame or something.
Sure, whirlwind frame, right? It's the only whirlwind frame that you'll ever need is falling guillotine. If they come out with a second, whirlwind frame, it's not interesting because you already have guillotine, and you can have 3 guillotines, all masterworked, all different, all different energies, and like that's a wrap. So personally, I don't like it. I'd rather have, if I look at rapid fire snipers, right? Vortex frame, thank you, Darth. If I look at rapid fire snipers, right? And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, oh, well, if I say rapid fire sniper right now, the only one that probably comes to mind for anybody is the Ikelos sniper right now. And you think immediately, well, that's solar. If you want to avoid one, then you have to wait for one to come out, and it needs to be a special. It's going to have its own visual. It's going to have its own lore. But if you can just have 3 Ikelos, snipers with all different polarities, but then you're done.
Right.
You're done. You don't need any more. And I think that to me, I think it loses value. Now, if somebody wants to make an argument for why, I think a lot of the time the argument is, well, then you have to get better perks and like more. But then you're just asking for more. And I personally don't care. I think it's fine. I'd rather just have more weapons with more identity. Arctic Haze, for example, is a solar, this is what we have right here, is a solar 720 auto rifle. The only other 720 that I can think of, the only other 720 I could think of, was it a 720? Oh, it wasn't even 720. Was the one on Tangled Shore, that was Arc. And I can't wait till another one kind of comes out, and I'm excited for it comparatively to just getting 3 Arctic Hazes right now, all God rolls, and just changing them. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on it. Those are my thoughts. But I understand where other people are coming from when they say they liked being able to change it. But I think I don't want to say it's unsustainable. Oh, Reckless Oracle. That's a good example, Darth. I understand why people like it, and I don't want to say it's unsustainable. But it's a lot more work because it means you have to come out with a new weapon that is interesting enough for me to replace my other weapon of the same archetype. So that's my thought on it anyway. So those are legendary weapons. Let's move in to the more interesting stuff. He actually adds new archetypes here of weapons. So let's go ahead, or I should say rarity of weapons. So he goes, new end game gear. He calls them pinnacle weapons, not to be confused with the pinnacle weapons that we once had, but pinnacle weapons as a completely new engram rarity type. These are interesting. There's a lot here. So first of all, he says you would only get these pinnacle weapons from raids, dungeons, and high-level nightfalls. So I thought that was interesting in itself. I'll talk about my opinions in a second.
Looks like there's something else after that.
Maybe.
After Nightfall.
Oh yeah, Iron
There,
Banner and Trials. Thank you so much. I'm glad you said something. So yeah, so he says all end game, right? This is all end game stuff. So he says end game PvP, which is Iron Banner, which he has a video about how he would change Iron Banner, which I love, by the way. We might go over that if people are interested. And then he also talks about Trials, obviously. Again, Nightfalls, dungeons. Great video he has about dungeons, and then raids. So he's saying this is where you would get pinnacle weaponry. So instead of just doing normal stuff and getting legendaries, this is a little bit different. Yeah, so if we continue, he basically says, let's see. Oh, so first he says that there would be pinnacle perks. And so this would be like, for example, he says this is already great because they've already been doing this for the raid. Reconstruction, I always get these confused. Reconstruction, recombination, and then there's the one that nobody uses. Redirection. Yeah. So those are the I don't even think I have a weapon on with it. What do you use it with?
It's really good on Trusty for PvE.
Okay. I have one with Wellspring. So like I just use Wellspring, but it would be good for like damage. I don't have one. So that's a good point. So these are basically pinnacle perks in his description for the raid. And so he basically wants to see more of this for pinnacle weapons. And then if we keep going, he would say there's this where pinnacle weapons have 2 options for perks. Now we've seen this multiple times. We see it with ritual weapons. We see it with we didn't see it with pinnacle weapons, but we saw it with ritual weapons, and we saw it with particular weapons. Yeah, Fell Winters, which was like basically a pinnacle weapon. And then, but we also saw it with weapons for particular seasons. So the season of Saint 14, which I can never remember the name of. Season of the Dawn. Those weapons at the end, if people remembered, at the end, if you had the right perks and whatnot, you could get weapons with dual perks. I loved this idea. Now, again, I'll hold my judgment for the end, even though I literally just told you.
Falling Guillotine can roll with Surrounded and Whirlwind as 2 options.
Oh yeah, and that was because of the Prismatic Recaster.
I think so.
Yeah, so the Prismatic Recaster. Yeah, that's a good point. The Prismatic Recaster, back for Season of the Arrivals, because I have a bunch of Gnawing Hungers with dual perks. Yeah. So again, he's saying that this is pinnacle weaponry. It's a little bit different. It has these, dual perks, and it can roll with perks that are only come with particular activities. So those are his ideas there. And you can see again, he shows it here with Posterity. This is how he would change Posterity. Of course, it's better than a legendary, so you can still do things like re-roll it and stuff. But again, you can see those double perks there. He also adds the option to rework a perk, which basically means re-roll it, right? So again, he's saying, hey, if you get this pinnacle weaponry, you can do even more customization. And you can see it's expensive, right? 1 whole Ascendant Shard. And we were just talking about how hard it is to get Ascendant Shards. So he says that. And then another thing that he mentions, I might have to go back to it. Let's see real quick. There it is. He talks about being able to get basically intrinsic perks that are better for whatever the activity is. So you can see here he has Whirlwind's Curse. This weapon does bonus damage against Fallen in the Deepstone Crypt. So this idea we've heard of before. Obviously, we've seen it with armor back in D1. But it's a thing here. I think the idea originally kind of came from Warmind, when the Ikelos weapons were made to be good against enemies within the Escalation Protocol. Now, they weren't specifically good against them as in like, oh, well, these are Hive, so you kill Hive better. But it was like, was it Disorient that came out that time? I can't remember, but like they gave you the solar sniper rifle because you were going to go against the solar wizards, for example.
Mhm.
Now, of course, you could re-roll it, but there was that. So I thought this was kind of cool too. And then I think I want to say there was one more thing. No, I think that might have been it. So let's pause there. Gil, what you think?
Well, I don't agree with costing a golf ball to reroll one perk.
Okay.
That's absurd to me, but it should cost something. Um, did any weapons in D1 or D2 perk wise have anything unique for raids?
I don't
So that's just armor.
remember. I know armor did. I don't know
Yeah.
if weaponry did. I don't believe so. Darth, I feel like you'd probably know more than us. But
I'd be okay with putting on a weapon mod onto the weapon for the raid, but I don't think. Well, I mean, I guess it wouldn't really matter if it was a mod or not. But to make it like I guess more fair in a PVE aspect, I guess just put it in with the other mods, and like you can either run this good legendary mod or you could run the raid mod. So instead of like running this really good legendary mod and having the raid mod, so that way you're literally just killing everything, and it's not even like fair.
yeah.
But I mean, Deep Stone Crypt already isn't fair with weapons we have. But yeah, I mean, I find it very interesting to have another rarity in between exotic and legendary.
This isn't it either. He's got another one.
Yeah, he's got another one. But I don't know. I almost don't really find it necessary. I mean, like you said, the uniqueness and personality of the gun comes into play again. And I mean, posterity, for example, I don't think it would be. Well, 180s right now aren't like the best in the world.
Sure.
So I would almost go so far as to say, let's not re-roll the perks it gets, or the burn it has. I'd say re-roll the archetype.
Reroll the archetype?
Yeah.
So
Like let's say I get a posterity and it rolls 180, and I'm like, I mean, personally, I like 180s, but let's say I didn't. Or let's say it's Darth, and Darth's like, oh, I don't want to do a 180. He spins like 5 enhancement prisms, some legendary shard, maybe some glimmer. You re-roll that to a 120,
but it's still posterity?
but it's still posterity.
So you're changing the entire frame of the weapon.
Right.
That is a radical idea. So for pinnacle weapons only.
Pinnacle weapons.
And this is only within its major archetype. So trusty, you could change to a 120 scout, even though currently it's a whatever really fast one.
I don't know. Yeah. Like instead of like a rapid fire frame.
Yeah.
It's something else.
Okay.
I'm interested to see how that would work. It probably wouldn't work that well because posterity's not like a high zoom hand cannon or anything.
Yeah.
So
Darth's out here saying he disagrees. I think I agree with Darth. I think this still goes into how I feel about even what you were saying, Darth. I know you said you liked the change in polarities and for the energy. I like my weapons the way that they are. I think if you get a weapon like if I say, man, I really want a 180 arc hand cannon, where do I get that? You have to go to the raid right now to get one of the best ones, right?
Mhm.
And I think because of that, it has so much personality. I think the more you can customize it, the less it's interesting. the less interesting it gets. It loses value, I think, the more you can change it. Even with the perks, I think re-rolling a perk, I don't hate the idea. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I think it loses. Why would I like for example, Darth is a PvP guy, right? If Darth plays the raid once, gets a posterity, and he's like, "Oh, cool, I got a posterity," then all he does is just play, this kind of boring, not boring. Sorry, didn't mean to say that. All he does is then play Crucible, right? Instead of this hard raid that they made, but he gets golf balls, right? And then he spends his golf balls on this raid, weapon. I feel like that's difficult. You know what I mean? I think that's like, why would you do that? Like, why would Destiny purposefully like sabotage like how much time they spent on this weapon? And I think it's like, because I think if imagine me now saying like, oh yeah, I grinded 8 years for this hand cannon. There's something special there where you're like, oh yeah, I got this hand cannon, then I just changed it. To me, I feel like that feels different.
A little side note: a couple of my friends just invaded your chat.
welcome to the Destiny Podcast Project. We don't have a name for it yet, but we're gonna get one. Real quickly, Darth, you mentioned D1 had a reforge system from Banshee. I do remember that. But again, I didn't really feel like it was like a necessary thing. Again, to me, it's just a personal preference. I'm not saying that people can't want it. I understand why people would want to reforge things, change things. I think that's okay. I don't think it should be a system complete to everything in the game. Like, I think for me, when I think about like, imagine if you remember what was it? Curse of Osiris DLC, right? The Curse of Osiris DLC and its weapons, I really, really liked. And remember when they had that original, like the forge that was in Mercury? Like, like that forge was, like, it was so cool, but you couldn't do anything with it. I was like, yo, for these weapons only, imagine they were specific to that year or that season, right? Imagine if you could come in and you could be like, yo, this right here, this weapon, I'm going to go ahead, the Jack King Queen. Imagine if you can grab this weapon, and only for this weapon, you can go back to that forge at this one particular place, and it's a big deal. It's not just like oh yeah, I went to Banshee and I just swapped it out. Whereas comparatively to, let's say it's a world roll, let's say Banshee had particular weapons that you could do that with. I think that's fine, but I don't like an entire archetype. So I'm gonna put my 2 cents out here. I love some of the ideas here, but I'm gonna put this out there now. I don't want this to be a whole different class of weapons. To me, I think you can have the same stuff without making it a different class. He basically said they already have it, right? When you do the raid, you get a posterity. I think to be able to get dual perks, I think you should have to do a harder version of the raid or something like that. I don't think you need dual perks because I did a raid. Raids aren't that difficult. They are end game, but they're only end game because you need 6 people, not because it's like the hardest thing in the world, especially Deepstone Crypt, right? So I personally don't necessarily feel that way. Instead, though, I don't think that there can't be like particular perks or, for example, I also don't think they need the intrinsic thing. I think the intrinsic thing can come as a mod, or it can come to your armor. I think weapons can be exactly what they are in this way. And I think the dual perk system, I think that can be arranged via particular activities again, right? Prismatic Recaster. The chest at the end of Deepstone Crypt. Imagine you go to Deepstone Crypt and you pay double. You pay double the gold or whatever, spoils, to get a dual-rolled posterity. I would do that.
Yeah. I do that.
So I don't think you need to have a whole different engram pop up. I mean, it's just so much. It's just a lot. And I think legendaries are great, right? Legendaries are great weapons. And I think they have a lot of personality. I want my posterity to be a posterity, but because I can only get it from the raid, I would like to see maybe, hey, like, you want a harder challenge or something, or even if it was like when you do the challenge, you have a chance to get a dual roll perk. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I don't think it needs to be this whole thing where it's like, yeah, let's add Pinnacle next to it. It's like,
Yeah.
I think we're okay. That's me
That's the
personally.
thing. This dude's not even done yet. He's adding another one.
I know. Yeah. I understand. I'm not trying to go after anybody and say they're wrong, but that's just kind of where I'm
Yeah.
at. Darth, I'd love to know what you thought about, particularly about what I said there. With like instead of it being a whole new classification, and I know we already don't agree with everything. I know you like the idea of being able to reroll perks, and change the polarity or the energy of the weapon. I understand that whole thing. For me, I feel differently, but when it comes to making a whole new pinnacle engram, do you agree with that, or do you think it should be more like, oh, well, this system in the game allows for you to have dual perks? Because I love that. I thought that was great, especially like when I was grinding it out at the end of Season of the Dawn. I was like, because it's more work. You know what I mean? Like, I want 2 perks that are good. Like this right here, Rapid Hit, and like, imagine this had Rapid Hit, Kill Clip, and then Feeding Frenzy, Demolitionist. Like, that's a perfect roll for me, but if I had 1 perk off out of the 4, I'm going to keep rolling for it. I'm going to keep going for it. So, personally, I really like that idea. I want reasons to replay the game, personally. Any other thoughts on the Pinnacle ones?
I'm good.
All right, we got 2 more. We got 2 more, and the next one is Adept Weapons. Now, Adept Weapons already exist. Now, he has a whole new engram color for it. But you can see here,
Engram.
right? This is what Adept weapons look like right now. Here's the Summoner Adept, where the only difference right now is that you get a boost to more of your, to more of your stats comparatively to just 1, as well as it's a different color. You also can have Adept mods. So he goes over all of that. He basically says, I hate the entire system. And he then talks about the change from basically, that, like how, like, what Adept weapons are now, to how you would get Adept weapons, like how and where you get them from, and a complete rework of the Adept weapons. So you can see here, this is Deepstone Crypt, and he talks about contest mode. And he says, hey, contest mode of Deepstone Crypt. So this would only come from the hardest of hard stuff, right? Trials going flawless. Hard version of Deepstone Crypt. He also mentions a hard version of dungeons, right? And he says, yep, this is where you would get this stuff from GM Nightfalls, right? This is where you would get Adept weapons. He says that's where he gets them from. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any of his stuff. Here you go. Here's Pit of Heresy, where he talks about a hard mode of Pit of Heresy. And basically he said they would add champions, etc. Again, we could talk about reworks to game modes and stuff later, but in terms of the loot, he was basically just saying hard modes of these would drop Adept weapons. Then he continues, and he says, you can see here, Nightfall Ordeal, you can get Adept weapons there. Let's see. It says the same thing for Iron Banner. I know I'm just kind of going through it, but just so I can make sure that's all clear. Going flawless. And then here we go. Is it before? I think this is it. So what he says is, there would be if I remember correctly, an Adept version of every pinnacle weapon. So not every normal weapon, but every pinnacle weapon. So only only Deepstone Crypt weapons, only dungeon weapons, that kind of stuff. But they would all have an equivalent version Adept. So same way that going flawless is right now, right? You can get an Igneous Hammer, but you could also get an Adept one. You could get not Gnawing Hunger. I cannot think of what it's called. The 600 auto rifle. What's it called? Summoner. Thank you.
Yep.
Or you can get an Adept. He's saying the same thing here, right? He's using Arctic Haze as an example, but obviously Arctic Haze is not an example. But Prosperity, you could get an Adept version of Prosperity. So he gave that example. He did mention keeping the shader, so you would get a shader with it. It would look different. It's special. He also mentioned the buff to the overall buff to masterworking your weapon would stay. He did mention that. He also mentioned adding a second mod slot to adept weapons. So not only could you have Icarus, but then you also have whatever your adept mod is, right? So that way you could have both. So that was another thing that they had changed. Or that was one of his ideas of changing it. He said there'd be no power limit, or the power limit would happen later. I'm ignoring this because sunsetting's going away. So this was an idea earlier. You can see he actually just added down below. Let's see, he'll probably go back to it real quick. Oh, we're already in. All right, you can see down below he talks about adding celerity as an intrinsic perk. So you can see down here, intrinsic perk to the weapon. And that's pretty much it, as far as I understand. Same thing. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything, but I'm pretty sure that's right. He mentioned, of course, it's the same stuff as the rest of it, right? You can change polarity. You can change the mods, right? Or not the mods, excuse me, the perks. So I'm going to pause there. Gil, what do you think? It's a lot. I know it's a lot. But what do you think about this idea for adept weapon changes?
I don't agree with having 2 mod slots. That seems a little busted.
I'm gonna follow up there. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Icarus, I think, is an issue. Everybody uses Icarus, so at a high level. So just move Icarus to your arms or something like that. Like I don't like to an armor slot. You don't need it to be a weapon.
We do not need a if you look at this summoner right here, is Stability Masterwork, Icarus Grip, and a Stability Adept mod.
Yeah, that's whack.
That is so unnecessary.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
That's literally a straight laser beam.
Yep.
And nobody wants that. And I mean, I'm cool with doing hard end game activities to get weapons, like good weapons.
Yeah.
But if they're gonna be like this for every weapon, no, that won't work. Everyone would immediately be asking for some kind of change or some kind of nerf to all adept weapons. Well, not all, but the most prominent ones.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So would you?
And honestly, the whole topic itself seems unnecessary. I do not think we need adept weapons for every single endgame activity. That, on paper, it sounds like a good idea. Well, let's think of it like this. You'll have adept weapons for Shattered Throne, Pit of Heresy, what's the other one? Prophecy. Deepstone Crypt, Last Wish, Fog, Garden, Trials, Iron Banner. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I like making harder weapons more accessible, but that almost seems too accessible. And yeah.
I love, once again, chat, if you guys have any thoughts on this, comment section, if you guys have any thoughts on having more adept weapons. I know for me, I definitely feel like we could have some more. But I think this is probably this is a good place because this is basically the end here. We got one more thing about exotics, but it's super fast, and I think we'll probably both agree on it. But I think here, he goes in depth about some of the changes he would make to these game modes, and I think it actually helps a little bit. I don't like adept weapons for Iron Banner. I don't think Iron Banner is very good. So I think Iron Banner, it doesn't make any sense to me. But dungeons,
I don't need an adept time 1 spire.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
With dungeons, if there's a hard mode of a dungeon, I don't know how else you get people to do it unless it's adept weapons. I think I'm just putting it out there. I don't know if, and I'm talking about a hard mode. I'm not talking about master version. I'm talking about contest mode. If you can give me raid hard mode, I want adept weapons. That was so hard. Yeah. We didn't do it. We couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then we did it immediately the next couple days. So
Right.
if I get contest mode, I want adept weapons. Now, does it need to be every weapon? I don't know. Maybe only a handful of weapons. Maybe on a rotating basis they come out.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, at the same time, like if I could go into, I think if dungeons were better with loot, like the prophecy dungeon does not have great loot in the sense that it doesn't have loot that is really only for itself. Like
That's true.
yeah, like I think all of the dungeons drop loot that you can get in multiple areas. They just recently reworked that, right? So like if they made it so
Yeah.
Pit of Heresy was the only place that you could get the Heretic rocket launcher, then yeah, I'd
Mhm.
say okay, give me a pinnacle version of it. But you can also get it from running that stupid thing, whatever that thing's called.
Yeah.
But to be fair, if it's the only place where I can get a pinnacle one, well then that's a little bit different, right? So
Right.
I don't know. I'm kind of about this idea, but I think the biggest change that is needed is the intrinsic perk. I agree with
Right.
this. Yo,
Yeah.
give me intrinsic celerity. Give me intrinsic
good.
bottomless grief. And I think you can give me intrinsic bottomless grief on all PvE pinnacle or adept weapons. Maybe you could make another one for raids in particular because a 3-man fire team is different than a 6-man fire team. But I would like to see something like that for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
it's hard for me, but it's just like, yeah, adept weapons would be cool. I mean, I think in my head, kind of like a better idea for Bungie to do instead of having to go through the work of making all these end game adept weapons adapt with intrinsic perks and 2 mod slots and all of that, whatever this guy's saying. Instead, I'd make maybe a curated role for every weapon,
Okay.
and then maybe on harder difficulties, make it easier to earn a curated role of that weapon. And now the perks would have to be good, and maybe even throw in the intrinsic perk on it. A curate like Deepstone Crypt, curated posterity with an intrinsic perk. That'd be dope.
I don't know if I do think it's different for you because I think for other people we'll just grind for the god roll. I think like curated roles were like interesting, but curated roles are actually only to me it felt like not intrinsic. It felt like wow, why did I just forget the word for it? What we were just talking about. Whatever that word is for curated. It felt like curated roles were only really good for people that don't understand roles, right? Like if you jump in and you got a masterworked weapon that was which means it was the curated version of it. It just meant you didn't have to hunt for that anymore. So like to me it was like, yeah, I guess. But I think if you're saying that the curated role would also have like, bottomless grief on it automatically because it would be intrinsic, and maybe it had 2 perks, I think that's fine too. I think for me, I think the best thing for me would be the changes for rare. I think that's great. I think legendaries you can keep the same, personally.
Yeah.
I think pinnacle should just be folded into activities, meaning you can get those dual perks on particular things whenever Bungie says it's okay, which is mostly seasonal stuff. So that it's special. They're special, and it was a point in time, right? Yeah. And then I think for adept, I think adept weapons should exist, and I think they should exist in hard things. And I think the hard thing is, where is that? Is it only Grandmaster Nightfalls and Going Flawless, or is there another way to get it? I think there should be an adept. I think there should be another PvP event for adept. I think a good answer for that would be comp. If you go legend, you should get an adept weapon. Why are we playing this, right?
Right.
And then I think it's the same for raids. I think if you make a hard version of the raid, which you need to have a hard version of the raid, these raids are getting boring. You need to have a hard version of the raid. I think an adept weapon is okay. And then I think dungeons, honestly, are the same. I think dungeons are pretty boring too after you've done them over and over again. I think you need to spice it up. I think that's it, though. I don't think you need much more. I don't think you need to put in Iron Banner, and I don't think you need to add adept weapons for some other PvE thing, but I think dungeons need to become endgame. They're not really endgame. I mean, they are, but they're just long strikes. That's kind of my point on it. Love to know what the chat thinks. Love to know what comments think. Last part of this is quick, and then we're going to sign out, guys. This is a 3-hour discussion. I knew it was going to be long. I said, hey, you want to go over this? You were like, yeah, let's do it, man.
Yep.
I was like, all right. This is the last part, and it's exotic weapons. Basically, all he says is that he would like to see... Let me see if I can pull it up really quickly. He would like to see all weapons get this thing called paracausal nature, where automatically exotic weapons make make orbs. And they also come with a kill tracker. So
That's good.
And I completely agree with this. I'm like, bro,
Yep.
It's so dumb. If a weapon doesn't have a masterwork yet because it doesn't have the catalyst, like, so literally, like, because of those weapons, like, I will not use some of them because I have builds for getting charged with light. Right. So, like, what's going on? Like, Huckleberry, great weapon. It's excellent. Teraba doesn't make orbs. You joking? I'm not going to use that. No way. Because it doesn't make orbs, which means I can't get charged with light. So, it's kind of crazy. So I agree with that. That's the only change that he really makes for exotics, and I think that is right. Okay, cool. Well, literally, that's it. It's that was Weapons 2.0. We reviewed it. We went through it. We obviously had a lot of opinions on it. I know some folks in the chat had some opinions on it. I know some folks in the chat are trolling Eli, otherwise known as TheHomieGil. Yeah, guys, thank you so much. I know this has been a long podcast. This was episode 2 of the Destiny Podcast Project. Name coming soon. I do think we're going to close in on a name for episode 3. And once we close in on a name, we'll be on a completely new channel. All this different stuff. We're going to have it on, YouTube, Twitch. We'll be on all socials and all that good stuff. And it's going to become a big thing. We're going to have a bunch of graphics, all that stuff. For now, enjoy it how it is. We're going to put, of course, the first 2 episodes up on the YouTube channel as well. Thank you, everybody, for coming through. I'm going to call out, of course, Darth, who came through, Mex, who came through in the beginning, another one, Drugan, Scarlet, who came in as well, all of the homie Gil's great friends who are throwing some bits at me. I appreciate it. Soon, we'll have a way for you guys to get involved on a better level for the whole podcast as a whole. This is literally just my personal channel, but we'll have one that's just for this podcast. You guys can troll us over there, and it'll be great. Gil, anything else you want to say before we sign out?
I think I'm all spent. I'm tired as hell.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, then we will see you guys. Who knows? Maybe we'll see you in trials. Maybe we'll see you in a Nightfall run trying to get the Paladrone this weekend. So we'll see you guys all online. And, of course, we will catch you in the next one. Peace.